Chapter 2367, Clashing with a Heavenly Venerate. Ling Han did not linger in battle. He merely casually shot out a punch, and Huai Jian and the others instantly exploded like flowers being scattered. Under his might, they could not even last a single blow. Most people directly exploded into flesh and blood, but Huai Jian and Jing Zhongyue were spared. A light flickered on them, and it blocked the attack from Ling Han. The power of the Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity, Ling Han thought immediately. That elite was really prejudiced, having given additional help and care to Huai Jian and Jing Zhongyue. He did not follow up with another blow, but rather shot forwards onto the mountain. With his speed, he instantly threw Jing Zhongyue and Huai Jian off his tail, charging into the mountains. Ancestral King Ji Kong immediately awoke. He had sensed a terrifying killing intent had already locked down on him, but he had just opened his eyes when a cold flash had already struck down on him, splitting him in two. The left and right side of his body slipped down to the sides, and he died just like that. Hong long long, lightning flashed in the skies, turning into multiple giants that descended, launching a barrage of blasts at Ling Han, and the heaven and earth grieved as well, lamenting the death of an ancestral king. Ling Han took a deep breath, and concentrated his power entirely on the divine demon sword. The frightening power of Heavenly Venerable Tear caused even the blade to tremble, as if it could shatter at any moment. He shouted loudly, and delivered a sword strike. Pang! The whole divine desolate mountain shuddered strongly, dust and dirt flying, and turning into a massive mushroom cloud, and if one could come into the center of the mountains, they would see that the whole mountain peak had been leveled. Wang, a frightening divine sense spread out, filled with age and experience. It was like a wild beast that had gone through endless years had awoken, filled with fury, and planning to destroy the heavens and earth. Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity. The commotion was too great, awakening him from his secluded state. As he had been refining the Heavenly Venerate Wulu all these epochs, this disturbance had incredibly strong effects on him. Thus, he was incredibly furious. Who would dare to disturb him? You! The Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity stretched out a hand, and the dust and dirt that filled the skies were instantly swept aside. He stood proudly like the overlord of a realm, exuding an aura that even the heaven and earth seemed to be trembling at. Ling Han understood. It was not the heaven and earth that was fearing him, but rather regulations. His vitality index was close to 16,000 points. This guy's strength was already so high that it was close to the level of second-tier Heavenly Venerate. A mere piece of trash of the human race, just because you have a mighty precious tool, you dare to commit insolence in front of me. Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity smirked coldly. Boom, the power of heaven and earth rippled. Regulations were not allowed to exist at all, and split apart consequently. This blow could destroy worlds. Ling Han roared loudly, and faced it with his full efforts. Pang! With this blow, he was directly sent flying tens of thousands of miles away. The gap between them was too wide. How could a pseudo-Heavenly Venerate face a real Heavenly Venerate? What more when the Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity was one of the strongest on this level at that. Perhaps he was even the strongest Heavenly Venerate. But Ling Han charged back without the slightest hesitation. The divine demon sword danced, unafraid of even a Heavenly Venerate. You are courting death. The Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity was outraged, and once more stretched out his hand to strike Ling Han down. Pang, 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 with every strike, Ling Han was undoubtedly sent flying. The gap in strength between them was really too wide, but he would immediately charge back every time like he was a monster that could not be killed. Finally, Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity was truly angered. He had left behind a portion of his power to suppress the Heavenly Venerate Wulu all this while, and that was why he had not been able to unleash his true power, but now he could not accept that he had not been able to kill a mere minor character in Ninth Lotus after such a long time. Boom, he sent out another palm strike, and his might instantly soared 100 or even 1,000 times over, terrifying to the extreme. This time, he was truly attacking with his full power. Even the heaven and earth would be wary of such strong power, and a part of the heavenly tribulation instantly blasted at the Heavenly Venerate desolate eternity. He was too powerful, and could not exist in this realm. Peng, without the slightest doubt, Ling Han exploded into a shower of blood. Then, a flame ignited. He was presently reforming, and healing himself rapidly. Rising from the ashes. Initially, Ling Han could not use rising from the ashes after entering the foreign realm, because regulations differed, but the Black Tower was showing its might this time, which was equivalent to having created a small realm of the celestial realm. In this zone, Ling Han could use all the regulations of the celestial realm. Overestimating yourself, the Heavenly Venerate desolate eternity smirked coldly. So what if you rose from the ashes again? He only had to follow up with another strike, and could still send Ling Han on to his next life. Boom, he struck out with a palm, not giving Ling Han any chance to resurrect himself. Pang! Right at this crucial moment, his palm was actually blocked. What? Even Heavenly Venerate desolate eternity revealed an expression of disbelief. This was something that he had completely failed to predict. Ha 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 ha, desolate eternity, never thought that I would still be able to battle, right? The laughter of Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu rang out. His figure had appeared as well, turning into the image of a middle-aged man in his 30s. He was handsome, generous, and incomparable in his charisma. So, this brat wanted to draw me into attacking with full power so as to create a chance for you to escape. Heavenly Venerate desolate eternity immediately understood. Instantly, flames were gushing from his nostrils, stronger than even the origin flame of the heaven and earth. He was almost dying from fury. Now that Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had escaped, it meant that his efforts for the last over dozen epochs would be wasted. That's right. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu declared proudly, his eyes sweeping over Ling Han, and holding a hint of gentleness. This was the doting love an elder felt for a junior. So what about it? I managed to suppress you once, so I will definitely be able to suppress you a second time, or a third time. Heavenly Venerate desolate eternity smirked coldly, but though his words were confident, all his efforts had come to naught this time, and who knew how many more epochs he would have to go through to finally refine the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. Naturally, he was furious to the extreme at this. Desolate eternity, we will fight again next time. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed loudly, and stretched out a hand, grabbing the newly revived Ling Han. Then, taking a step, he was instantly millions and millions of miles away. Furthermore, before he left, he did not forget to deliver a last attack, filled with the fury that had accumulated from him almost being refined. Boom! Heavenly Venerate Divine Desolate Mountain had no choice but to parry this attack, but merely the rippling of several slivers of power almost raised the whole Divine Desolate Mountain into the ground, and who knew how many people had become a mush of blood and flesh. This was the strike of a Heavenly Venerate, the power that surpassed regulations. Damn it! Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity roared in fury, and set off in hot pursuit of Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. He was determined to capture both Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu and Ling Han, and subject them to the cruelest of punishments. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu did not linger in battle at all, and directly aimed for the connecting point of the two realms. With how fast the speed of a Heavenly Venerate was, they could appear at any corner with a mere thought. Though this was only the manifestation of divine sense, which was faster than their physical body, in truth, their physical speed was not much worse either. In merely half an hour, the connecting point of the two realms was already within sight. In this place, the storm of energy had taken the form of a colossal waterfall that descended from the heavens, preventing anyone from leaving or entering. Even a Heavenly Venerate would be severely wounded should they attempt to barge in by force, and added with how they would be targeted by the heaven and earth, there was a 99% chance that they would die. Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity was already close to approaching. He couldn't help but smirk coldly. Could it be that they had come here planning to barge into the storm of energy? Desolate eternity, no need for the send-off. Your life will be up to this brat to take in future. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed loudly, charging over into the energy storm without the slightest hesitation. No! Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu screamed in fury. Though his strength had greatly improved in these more than dozen epochs, he had still not reached the pinnacle of the first-tier Heavenly Venerate. As he saw it, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was actually a Heavenly Venerable tier great herb for him. He stretched out his hand to grab him, gushing with his full power. The ground in the surrounding area stretching as far as hundreds of thousands of miles was completely destroyed. Who knew how many beings of the foreign realm had been implicated and died? Chapter 2368, Noble Ideals. Heavenly Venerable tier had surpassed regulations. What kind of lofty existence was this? Every single person that could become a Heavenly Venerate was a prodigy among prodigies, who would be weaker than the other. Even if Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was in a weak state, now that he had the lead, he was not afraid that the Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity would catch up to him either. Boom, he rushed into the energy storm, all signs of him disappearing immediately. Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity came to an abrupt stop. He could charge in, but he would definitely suffer severe injuries, and with the overall level of the celestial realm being lower, the power targeting him would instead be stronger. In a state of severe injury, he would definitely be killed. He roared to the heavens, his voice thunderous and echoing throughout the entire foreign realm, which instantly drew the notice of various Heavenly Venerates, who manifested their divine sense here. Setting the Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity aside, after Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu charged into the energy storm, his hand held Ling Han, using his supreme power to protect him, yet he, with noble aspirations, faced the energy storm head-on. He had been imprisoned for over a dozen epochs, and had almost been refined. Naturally, he would prefer to die in battle instead. He spat out blood continuously. Heavenly Venerable tier was indeed superior to regulations, but at least first-tier Heavenly Venerate was not enough to stand against the heaven and earth. Being barraged by the energy storm, his whole body was bathed in blood, and even his bones broke one after another. But this Heavenly Venerate's fighting spirit blazed even higher. There was a faith keeping him strong, was determined to deliver Ling Han safely back to the celestial realm even if it meant his death. As he saw it, this was the hope of the celestial realm. Ling Han was the sole and only person who had managed to venture into the foreign realm and return completely unscathed. If Ling Han could become a Heavenly Venerate, he could possibly become the strongest Heavenly Venerate. He burst out with his full power, traversing through the energy storm bit by bit. Heavenly Venerable tier power soared into the heavens, and he roared repeatedly. His noble aspirations surged as he brandished his fists continuously. He was practically invincible, endless light surging out of his body, dazzling the ages. With every punch he shot out, the energy storm would be blasted apart, and a vacuum would appear, and even the time stream could be glimpsed. This was a Heavenly Venerate, superior to regulations and endlessly close to heaven and earth itself. Boom, he charged out of the energy storm, standing proudly in the skies. I have returned. He released a bold, loud laugh. He then took a deep breath. Boundless power of heaven and earth turned into a visible stream that poured out towards his body. Initially, he was battered and bruised, but with the pouring of the strong power of heaven and earth into him, there were signs that his injuries were actually slowly recovering, but right at this moment, thunderclouds gathered densely, with lightning flashing in their depths, striking out at the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. This lightning possessed frightening might, and actually stopped the recovery of Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's injuries. The heavens despised him. A Heavenly Venerate had snatched the power of heaven and earth, surpassed regulations, and was no longer under the authority of the heaven and earth. At the same time, he was also abandoned by the heaven and earth. Thus, the moment he appeared, he would be targeted by the heaven and earth, and if he actually fought, it would be even more serious. He wanted to heal his injuries, what more when it was such heavy Tao injury? That was practically impossible. Suddenly, the supply of power of heaven and earth stopped, and Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu frowned greatly. If he was still in his prime state, he would not need to fear being obstructed by the heaven and earth. He could snatch it by force. After all, the heaven and earth could not directly interfere with him, and could only act through regulations, but even the strongest regulations would only be at the 9th heaven celestial king tier. But now that his strength had dropped to rock bottom, he had also used the last bit of his power when he passed through the energy storm. He really was at the end of his line now. Huang, a figure appeared, exuding a great aura that suppressed the heaven and earth. Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate. The moment he appeared, he was naturally targeted by the heaven and earth as endless lightning blasted down on him. Wu Lu. Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate exclaimed in shock. He was incredibly stunned. This person in front of him should have died over a dozen epochs ago, and now he had actually made a sudden reappearance. Even with his subtlety, he was stunned. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu smiled boldly, and asked, "Never thought I could return again, right?" Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate humphed, his face expressionless, yet a wild storm was taking place in his heart. In the past, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had used himself to crash into the connecting point of the two realms, just like the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, sacrificing himself to protect the celestial realm. And now Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had appeared once more. Then what about the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable? If the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had not died, matters would really become troublesome. Thank goodness. He swept an eye over the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. The latter's power of heaven and earth was practically exhausted, and he was also severely injured. Even if he made no move, the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu would still rapidly walk towards death. This disobedient brat. When Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate spotted Ling Han, who was still in Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's grasp, a flash of killing intent flickered in his eyes. Previously, he had personally pursued Ling Han, yet the latter had actually managed to flee into the foreign realm. This was a humiliation to him. How could a Heavenly Venerate fail? "Hand over this disobedient brat, and I will let you enjoy the rest of your life in peace," he said. He appeared very generous, but he knew that there were not many days left for the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, and that was why he had spoken in this manner. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu smirked coldly. "Jiuwu, you are truly shameless. For the sake of your own transcendence, you have set aside all the living creatures of the entire celestial realm, and you can still bring yourself to stand in front of me? Are you courting death?" Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate asked menacingly. "You only have about 100 years to live, at most. I do not mind sending you earlier on your way." Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed loudly. "That's right. There is indeed not much time left for me, but it is no issue to drag another person down with me before I die. Do you wish to die with me?" Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate was disdainful. "You are already at the end of your line, what right do you have to bring me down with you? You have no measure of your own abilities." As he spoke, various colorful clouds flashed repeatedly in the skies, and a great many people appeared around them. They were all celestial kings. They naturally had sensed the abnormal fluctuation in the energy storm, and had come to investigate the matter, but how could a 9th heaven celestial king possibly compare to a Heavenly Venerate in speed? There were really quite a number of people there: Eternity Celestial King, Everlasting Youth Celestial King, Treading Cloud Celestial King, Thousand Word Celestial King, as well as Shang Jiwei. When these celestial kings spotted Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, they all looked incredibly stunned. There was actually another Heavenly Venerate in the celestial realm. I will repeat it again. Hand over that disobedient brat, or you will have to die with him. Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate issued the final warning. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was nonchalant. If I went all out in battle, it would be no problem to drag you down with me. If you wish to die, I can oblige you. Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate instantly frowned. Though he could tell that Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's injuries were extremely severe, and he would not have long to live, exactly how much battle prowess he had left was still a question mark. The latter was a person that would definitely die. If he dragged him down with him, that would naturally be a great loss on his side. Hehe, we parted over a dozen epochs ago, my friend, and you do not seem to look too well. A cold laugh rang out, and yet another Supreme Overlord arrived. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable. If I join forces with friend Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate, do you still have the confidence to drag either one of us down with you? Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable asked. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was still uncaring. When the two of you are but a thought? His face bore an expression of disdain, as if he could destroy these two powerful beings with a single strike. My real self will definitely arrive in less than an hour, Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate stated evenly. That applies to me as well. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable looked coldly at Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. My friend, you had best accept our kind offer. Selfish guys, don't talk of such nonsense with me. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was completely unmoved, bearing noble ideals as he pointed at the Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate and Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable respectively. Just bring it on, and I will take on the two of you. Chapter 2369, True Selves Arrive, Great Clash of Heavenly Venerates. Everyone was enchanted. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was too dominant, facing two great Heavenly Venerates all by himself. He was clearly already heavily injured, yet was not afraid in the slightest, and looked down loftily on the rest of the world. And if he was in his prime condition, just how noble and majestic would he be? Ling Han could imagine it. When Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had battled with the foreign realm Heavenly Venerates, he had also been alone, and he had just charged onwards like that, turning even eternity into a void, and destroying the foreign realm's dreams of invasion for several epochs. This would cause one's blood to blaze, dream about this, and be filled with admiration. Unfortunately, Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and the other great Heavenly Venerates had clearly deliberately concealed this part. The future generations had not even heard of a person like the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, and that was the same for even Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable. If it were not for the fact that there were some old celestial kings that had been alive since that era, Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable's sacrifice would probably have long since been buried in history. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable's expression darkened. Friend Wu Lu, your time is already limited. Even if you can save this brat once, how could it be that you could save him 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times? Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu scoffed. As long as I am still alive, I will not allow anyone to touch a single hair on his head. Both Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate did not speak further, and merely looked on coldly, as if capable of freezing even time and space. Even Ninth Heaven celestial kings could feel their bodies trembling as a boundless chill spread out. It should be known that this was only the divine sense of two Heavenly Venerates. If their true selves were here, just how terrifying would it be? Heavenly Venerable Tier was too powerful. More and more celestial kings were arriving. Next, it was not just celestial kings. Even a considerable number of ascending origin tiers and immortal palace tiers had arrived. The majority were the most talented of the younger generation, such as Ji Wuming, Shi Chanzi, Huang, Jia Lan, the Rain Emperor, and so on. When they saw Ling Han, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How was this possible? Wasn't this guy being hunted by the Heavenly Venerates? It was said that he had fled into the foreign realm, but after roaming around there, not only had he returned completely unscathed, he was accompanied by another Heavenly Venerate. Just what kind of great luck was this? Ling Han swept a glance over. His eyes first paused on the Rain Emperor, and he smiled slightly at this second brother of his before shifting over, and pausing on Huang. He was stunned. This guy actually hadn't died? A dead person could still be revived. This was his first time encountering something like this. It had to be the power of a Heavenly Venerate. How truly shocking that they were capable of even reviving a dead man. This was truly heaven-defying. However, at this moment, whether it was Ling Han, Ji Wuming, or Huang, none of them were in any place to speak. The three great Heavenly Venerates were the true main characters here, and they were also the only leading characters. More and more people arrived, but after a while, space ripped, and two people walked out at practically the same moment. Xiao. The two slivers of divine sense of the Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate and Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable immediately shot towards these two people, and sank into them in a flash. These two people were the true selves of the two great Heavenly Venerates. Their true selves had arrived, and this might naturally could not be spoken about in the same breath. They did not need to move, and even the heaven was trembling and the ground was cracking as clouds swirled quickly. A boundless heavenly tribulation was already forming, turning into an ocean of lightning giants that blasted out at these two great Heavenly Venerates. Hand him over or die. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable demanded coldly. He was clearly only as tall as the average person, but as everyone looked at him, it was like they were looking up at a god that was millions and millions of meters tall, and their only option was to kneel and worship. You're dreaming. Heavenly Venerate Wu scoffed. If he had wanted to hand Ling Han over, he would have done so long ago, and the reason why he had not fled earlier was because, firstly, this was the pride of a Heavenly Venerate, and secondly, he knew that wherever he fled, he would be caught up with ultimately by the two of them, so he might as well battle them here and now. Battle until these two people hurt, and naturally they would no longer dare to say anything else. Then we will send you off to the underworld. Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate spoke, his voice overbearing and filled with the authority of an emperor. Instantly, the majority of people were compelled to kneel, feeling like even their hearts were close to exploding. Only the minority, a few ninth heaven celestial kings, were exempted. Those were the celestial kings of the highest tier. Jiaowu, you really think you are the highest authority now? Heavenly Venerate Wu laughed coldly, and actually made the first move. With him sending out a palm strike, it turned to a millstone that shrouded the heavens and sun, and descended on Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate. An ancient seal appeared on this millstone, surpassing the height of regulations, as if it was unveiling the true essence of the heaven and earth. Those ninth heaven celestial kings instantly widened their eyes and looked on carefully. This was a Heavenly Venerate using himself as an example. If they could grasp some ideas from this, who knew, they might be able to open the great doors that led to the Heavenly Venerable tier. Heavenly Venerable tier had surpassed regulations, but this did not mean that he could not use regulations. This was Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's own Tao. Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate was naturally unafraid, charging forwards with his fists. Boom! 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 The two great Heavenly Venerates fought. This was too terrifying. The heaven and earth was forcefully ripped apart, as if doomsday was about to arrive. And as they fought, the heavenly tribulation naturally became even more terrifying. Heavenly Venerates were elites that could truly damage this heaven and earth, and the moment they appeared, they would be targeted by the heaven and earth, and if they battled, they would sustain an even stronger backlash from the heaven and earth. But now, neither of the two great Heavenly Venerates paid any regard to this. They were only battling with their full efforts. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable set his eyes on Ling Han. It was only a stare, yet Ling Han felt as if his skin was about to explode. Small tower. Ling Han said softly, and a strong power instantly bubbled out of his body, the aura of Pseudo-Heavenly Venerable tier spreading out. Now that he had returned to the celestial realm, the Black Tower naturally could extract the power of heaven and earth of the celestial realm, and was completely revived. However, the Black Tower had not completely recovered. Thus, it could only help Ling Han reach the height of Pseudo-Heavenly Venerable tier now. Otherwise, it could have boosted him to a higher level. However, this was more than enough to deal with the pressure exerted by the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable. After all, there was no need for him to clash with a direct attack from a Heavenly Venerate. Humph! Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable moved, stretching out a hand. Instantly, it arrived in front of Ling Han's eyes. It was as large as a star, planning to squeeze Ling Han to bursting. Sealed emotion, what is the point of bullying a child? Heavenly Venerable Wu Lu suddenly charged back, his fist flying toward Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable's face. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable knew that Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was already close to the end of his line, but this was still the attack of a Heavenly Venerate, after all. How could he possibly dare to be careless? He had no choice but to give up his attack on Ling Han, and turn around to parry the attack from Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. Ha ha ha! Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed loudly, his lofty aspirations soaring. He alone was clashing with two great Heavenly Venerates, and still managed to attack with every move, making it seem as if he alone could match two great Heavenly Venerates. Everyone was exclaiming repeatedly in shock. They had not thought that this newly appeared Heavenly Venerate would actually be so impressive. Sealed Emotion and Jiaowu had their own considerations. It was not that they were no match to Wu Lu. On the contrary, the latter was already covered with multiple injuries, his battle prowess dropping drastically. Either one of them was actually stronger than Wu Lu. However, it could not be helped that the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was aiming to die together with either one of them with every move, and neither of them had the resolve to die with him. In fact, they were not willing to even sustain severe injuries. Thus, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu naturally had gotten the upper hand and the initiative. But this kind of situation could not be maintained for too long. Under the pressure of battle of Heavenly Venerable tears, Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's injuries would very soon explode, and he would be killed first by the heaven and earth without any interference from them. Do you really think that we cannot do anything to you? Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate was truly angered now. His forehead split apart, and a divine sword leaped out. Instantly, every person that wielded a sword felt their sword heart trembling as if it was about to crumble, and whether their sword was in their god tool or otherwise, they were all moaning. Chapter 2370, at the end of the line. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable appears. Die. Jiaowu Heavenly Venerate brandished his sword, and a majestic light blazed. Only a strong sword chi was left in this world. It was like an emperor had come out, and everyone could only kneel on the ground and bow to him. This was a Heavenly Venerable tier precious tool, Jiaowu Great Imperial Sword. In front of this imperial sword, any other sword-like tools could only tremble. This was the reverence they felt towards a Heavenly Venerate. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu clenched his fists, and greeted the incoming blow. Peng, 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 sword light and fist chi collided, dazzling hundreds of millions of kilometers. They exchanged a series of several hundred blows before finally ending the clash for this round. Copious amounts of blood were gushing from Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's fists, looking just like a golden celestial fluid. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu frowned slightly. His present battle prowess had dropped so greatly that he would actually be wounded by the other's weapon. He would be more willing to battle intensely to boiling point, drawing the interference of the heaven and earth so that they both would not dare to continue the battle further. Otherwise, should the power of heaven and earth move aggressively, it was definitely not something that a first-tier Heavenly Venerate could deal with. After all, neither of them had transcended, and they were still limited by this realm. But he had not expected that his own battle prowess would actually decline so greatly. Going by the look of things now, the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable only had to summon his own precious tool, and the two of them combining forces should be capable of very quickly suppressing him. Wu Lu, what is the point? Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable asked coldly. Since you have already become the dust of history, why did you have to appear again? Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed, his fighting spirit reignited. How could a Heavenly Venerate possibly feel despair? Even after being refined by the desolate eternity Heavenly Venerate for so many years, he had never given up, and had always been earnestly preserving that sliver of practically impossible hope. However, he had truly managed to wait until Ling Han came. He wiped his blood casually, and pressed the Heavenly Venerate blood on Ling Han's body. Instantly, Ling Han grunted, feeling like his skin was on fire, and blood was dripping from his 7 apertures. It should be known that ancestral king blood was greatly nutritious, and what Ling Han had gotten was from those in 14th Lotus and below, and not this was Heavenly Venerate blood, so it was naturally incredibly overwhelming. Thankfully, when Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had wiped the blood on Ling Han's body, he had already erased the murderous aura contained within, or Ling Han would not be able to bear it, even if he was a pseudo-Heavenly Venerate right now. But the benefits were endless. This was Heavenly Venerate blood, and what Heavenly Venerate would extract their own blood to nourish someone else. If it were not for the fact that Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had been bleeding from being attacked, he naturally would not waste it either. As for now, it would be a waste if he did, so it would be better that he use it on Ling Han instead. Ah! Ling Han released a loud shout. The Heavenly Venerate blood entered his body, turning into gushing lava. This power was too shocking, and he felt incredible agony as if his whole body was about to explode. But the boundless great power of heaven and earth was modifying his physique. This was similar to void particle energy, but it was clear that the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had not grasped it. He was a first-tier Heavenly Venerate, so what he possessed was the unique power of the celestial realm. Even in such agony, Ling Han was still carefully experiencing it because this was an incredibly rare opportunity. He touched this power to establish foundations for the day when he would advance to the Heavenly Venerable tier in the future. When a Heavenly Venerate ascended Tao, they would definitely have to grasp this kind of unique power. This was the basis of a Heavenly Venerate, and was also eternally engraved in his bones, signifying that he would be a person of this realm forever. Whichever realm they ascended Tao in, the unique mark of that realm would then be emblazoned on them. With his present power of pseudo-Heavenly Venerable tier, Ling Han was qualified to make a slight comparison, and realized that this unique power of the celestial realm was slightly inferior to void particle energy. It was just by a bit, and there was practically no distinguishing which was superior or inferior, but there was still that slight sliver of a gap. What nonsense are you spouting? Come fight me. Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's fighting spirit blazed. He had already been suppressed for over a dozen epochs. Previously, it was for the sake of escorting Ling Han back that he restrained himself from fighting, but at this moment, he only felt the fiery emotions of wanting to have an intense battle to his heart's content. Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable spoke no further, and a string of purple bells appeared above his head. The intent realm of primordial age and history flowed out. Upon closer look, phoenixes and dragons were entwined on these purple bells. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu looked, and couldn't help but clench his fists, looking furious. You have actually refined both Ancestor Dragon and Ancestor Phoenix. The two of them were living beings that were from the first batch of creatures that came into being when the realm was first created, and were also the strongest beings among them. They were practically capable of representing the celestial tool, yet their spirits had been plucked out by the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable to increase the might of his own precious tool. Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable smiled faintly. I have never forged my own precious tool, because I have been waiting for this Ancestor Dragon and Ancestor Phoenix to reach the pseudo-Heavenly Venerable tier so that I could refine them into my 10,000 Dragon Heavenly Phoenix bells. When these words fell, everyone was speechless. Ancestor Dragon and Ancestor Phoenix were both two of the strongest among Ninth Heaven celestial kings, and there was a chance that they could take that final step. It was rumored that they had been in seclusion for the last few epochs, and a great many celestial kings were also filled with anticipation about this. Once the two of them appeared, there might be another 2 Heavenly Venerates added to the ranks of the celestial realm. But now? As it turned out, the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable had actually extracted the spirits of these two powerful celestial kings, and turned them into his precious tools. He had gone too far. But who would dare say anything? At first, I had wanted to refine your corpse after your death to increase the might of the 10,000 dragon heavenly phoenix bells, but since you are so stubborn, I will refine you directly. Being irrigated by the blood essence of a heavenly venerate, this precious tool's might will definitely become even stronger. Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable declared wickedly. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was outraged, his black locks all fluttering upwards. He had not thought that the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable actually had designs on him, and planned to refine his corpse for his precious tool after his death. However, both great heavenly venerates were already going all out. By himself, he was weak, and he was severely injured at that, so how was he supposed to counter them? He had always been unhindered for his whole life, and what crisis or danger had he not encountered before? Even when the heavenly venerates of the foreign realm were right at their borders, he had still forged on without fear, and in the end successfully halted their enemies outside their borders. Yet now he discovered that there was really no way out for him. Why had this damn power of heaven and earth still not reached its limit yet, so that these two great heavenly venerates would refrain from acting to prevent harm to themselves, and not dare to wreak further destruction? Otherwise, the three of them could only die together. We should end this now. Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate charged out, sword in hand, the aura of a great emperor flooding out. Boom! Ling Han's body bounced out of nowhere, releasing a frightening hum, as if his body was a battle drum that was being pounded. Both sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate turned to look at him, sensing that his present condition was slightly unusual. In their eyes, a pseudo-heavenly venerate was not much different from mere trash. At most, it would only take slightly additional effort for them to deal with him. However, the aura that was seeping from Ling Han at this moment surpassed pseudo-heavenly venerable tier. It was not the blood of heavenly venerate Wu Lu, but rather something in his body seemed like it was about to be revived. Ah! Ling Han roared, his chest splitting apart, and a black tower appeared abruptly. Yuan Sheng. In the distance, Shang Ji-wei exclaimed in shock, tears streaming down her face instantly. Heavenly Venerate. The large black dog had also popped out from who knew where, and jumped up and down. Shua, shua, shua. The Empress, Hunyo, Lu Yutong, and the others, all those in the black tower, were tossed out, including things like star stones and ancestral king blood. Xiao, the black tower rapidly grew in size, turning into a 9-story tower that was filled with an intimidating ancient aura. Yuan Sheng, you have already died. What might could a precious tool have? Sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable said coldly. Just like they would instill a sliver of their own divine sense while they were forging their precious tool, it was this sliver of divine sense that was activated now, allowing the Black Tower to unleash Heavenly Venerable tier battle prowess. Chapter 2371, A Shocking Turn of Events. However, a sliver of divine sense was only just that. When this sliver of divine sense was completely exhausted, the battle prowess of the Black Tower would also fall. After all, a Heavenly Venerate tool was still forged by a Heavenly Venerate, so the strongest was still the Heavenly Venerate. A figure walked out of the Black Tower. It could clearly be distinguished that this was not a real person, but rather a shadowy image that had been formed from countless points of light. Yuan Sheng. Shang Jiwei wept. To think that she could still see the man that she had yearned for day and night after being separated for 8 epochs. She was practically mad with excitement. Meanwhile, the large black dog was barking loudly, and was also howling at the skies. Sealed emotion, you are right. I have indeed long since died, and have only left behind a sliver of my divine sense in the Tower of 3 Realms. Once it is activated, it will disperse very soon, Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable stated calmly. However, the two of you have made one miscalculation. What? Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate asked, his voice thundering. It was like the exercise of might from an emperor. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable pointed at the skies, and then grabbed the black tower. Xiao, he actually shot rapidly towards the skies. What did this mean? He had appeared with only such great difficulty, and actually did not make his move before this sliver of divine sense was completely burnt out, but rather raced towards the skies? Crack! In the skies, dark clouds spread out, and lightning flashed in their depths. Yeah. The three great heavenly venerates, Sealed Emotion, Jiuwu, and Wu Lu, all exclaimed in surprise. Abruptly, they realized that the power of heaven and earth was roaring, and turning into multiple dragons that surged forth from all directions. Pung! 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 Visible to the naked eye, 16-colored divine dragons flew out from the ground, winding and twisting in the skies. The three great heavenly venerates were baffled. How could the power of heaven and earth actually manifest? This was illogical because the greatest taboo of the heaven and earth was that someone could grasp this essence power, and escape its control. Xiao, a divine dragon, suddenly surged towards Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, and sank into his body with a flash. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was surprised. Heavenly Venerates were not doted sons of the heaven and earth, but rather abandoned children. The power of heaven and earth was not bestowed by the heaven and earth, but rather something he had stolen from the heaven and earth. Previously, he had been severely injured, and could not contend with the heaven and earth. Thus, he had been unable to further extract the power of heaven and earth. Not only did his battle prowess drop greatly, his injuries could not be healed, either. They would only become more severe, and he would finally be killed by the heaven and earth. But now? The power of heaven and earth was actually actively entering into his body. This was too inconceivable. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, it must have something to do with the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable. Otherwise, this would be too much of a coincidence. My wish is that all life would be akin to dragons. The voice of the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable rang out from the skies. The tribulation clouds evolved, and the image of the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable actually appeared. The aura he exuded was majestic and boundless, far surpassing the level of any first-tier Heavenly Venerate. Both Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate and Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable were greatly shocked. Could it be that the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had not died, and had instead become even stronger? Hang on. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable immediately shook his head, and raised his head to look at the skies. 8 epochs ago, you have already fused yourself with Heavenly Tao. Both your body and spirit have already been assimilated into the heaven and earth, but a sliver of divine sense was still left behind. Though I cannot guess the exact details of the situation, there is no way that you can influence the actions of Heavenly Tao. It is only now that you can forcefully interfere with the realm using the divine sense in the Heavenly Venerate tool as a stimulus. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable smiled faintly. That's right. As all life channels, it has its own rhyme and reason. I have already fused with Heavenly Tao, and cannot interfere in the matters of this realm. However, it would only be a small token for me to make it so that the two of you would be further targeted by the power of heaven and earth. He pointed a finger, and even more 16-colored divine dragons surged into Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's body. Visible to the naked eye, the aura of the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was presently rapidly strengthening, and his injuries were also quickly healing. Damn it! Both Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate humphed lowly. If things went on this way, it would really be possible for Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu to recover completely. They moved, but with a point of the finger from the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, boom, 2 terrifying bolts of lighting struck out at the 2 great Heavenly Venerates respectively, forcing them to stop. It was because these bolts of lightning had far surpassed the standards of 9th Heaven Celestial King tier, and had instead reached the level of 1st tier Heavenly Venerate. In fact, even among first-tier Heavenly Venerates, they could be considered extremely terrifying. This was a warning from the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable. His words did not hold a single lie, and he could really make it that the heaven and earth would target them even more strongly. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu took in deep breaths. The 16-colored divine dragons surged into his body endlessly, and his body was becoming more and more complete. His aura was also as vast as an ocean. It was like just opening his eyes could cause countless stars to fall from the skies. He had just about recovered to his strongest condition. Both Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate and Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable were shocked and furious. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable definitely only had a limited amount of time and extent in which he could influence the heaven and earth, and this was because of that sliver of divine sense that he had left behind in the Tower of Three Realms. Once this sliver of divine sense dispersed, he would only be assimilated by heavenly Tao. Perhaps, he would still be able to see and hear, but there would be no way for him to interfere. No matter how strong a Heavenly Venerate was, how could they possibly compare with heaven and earth itself? But it was precisely this limited amount of time for him to show his might, and the two great Heavenly Venerates were completely helpless. If they wanted to oppose the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, they could, and that was by similarly fusing themselves with heavenly Tao. Then, they would all be able to battle within heavenly Tao. But what meaning was there to this? To fuse themselves with heavenly Tao meant that they would no longer exist. Then, even if they defeated the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, so what? Ha ha ha. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu laughed loudly. His injuries had already completely recovered, and he had returned to his strongest state. Even the heaven and earth was helping him cheat, so how could it not be awesome? Come fight me again. He pounced aggressively, challenging the two great Heavenly Venerates simultaneously. Boom! 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 The two great Heavenly Venerates were forced to face the battle. This time, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had not influenced the heaven and earth to deliberately target the Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate. But Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's battle prowess was unexpectedly great. Even in a battle of 1 against 2, he was actually not at the slightest disadvantage. Both Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate were astonished. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu grinned proudly. With them all being able to become a Heavenly Venerate, who would be weaker than the other? Though it was Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity that was refining him, in this process, he had also spied on the former's Tao. That was over a dozen epochs, and the two Heavenly Venerates were both studying each other's Tao, and contending with each other, traversing the edge of danger. Whoever was the slightest bit careless would be refined by the other. Hence, while Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity was powerful, with vitality index that was close to 16,000, that was actually the same for Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu as well. However, as he was in the realm of the foreign realm, and could not get any replenishment of power of heaven and earth from the celestial realm, he had become weaker and weaker, but once he returned to his prime condition, his battle prowess would be much too terrifying. His vitality index was also close to 16,000. Otherwise, how would he have managed to stand against the Heavenly Venerate Desolate Eternity? Everyone's eyes were glazed over. Who would have thought that not only had Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu been dragged back from the brink of death, he had become as powerful as this at that. Even in a battle of 2 against 1, he was still undefeated. Yuan Sheng. In the distance, Shang Jiwei murmured to the skies. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable looked towards her, and revealed an apologetic smile. Jiwei, it was I who had let you down. In the future, let go of your grudges, and continue living well. No, I want to be with you. Shang Jiwei shook her head, her tone determined and stubborn. Step after step, she walked onwards, and as she walked, her body was also burning. She was actually going to disperse herself and return to the heaven and earth. Master! Anran exclaimed, and wanted to pull Shang Jiwei back, yet the latter waved a palm lightly at her, and she was swept onto the ground. I know you must hate me for killing Yi Yun. Now, I shall give my life back to her. I want to be with you forever. Shang Jiwei burned herself, turning herself into regulations that were compatible with the heaven and earth. Everyone could not help but feel touched. Chapter 2372, Forced Away. When one had reached the height of Celestial King Tyr, who did not just have the Tao of heaven and earth in their hearts, with their only purpose just to become the strongest. Shang Jiwei was a ninth heaven celestial king. Though she was not the most powerful existence in the world, there were but a mere 3 or 4 people that could surpass her. Yet, for the sake of being with her beloved, she did not hesitate to fuse herself with heavenly Tao. What was even more touching was the truth that the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had already died, and only left behind a weak sliver of divine sense in the realm. Rather than calling him still alive, it would be more accurate to say that he was a slave, forever trapped here. However, Shang Jiwei had still chosen to fuse with heavenly Tao without the slightest hesitation. This kind of love was to be respected, and to be pitied as well. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable sighed. Jiwei, is it worth it? He could not do anything, and could only say this. He could interfere with the 2 Heavenly Venerates because Heavenly Venerates were not recognized by the heaven and earth in the first place. He had only intensified the strength of the backlash from the heaven and earth. However, a 9th heaven celestial king was still in the system of the heaven and earth, so he could do absolutely nothing. Because he had long since died, and what was left behind now was only a sliver of thought. Even Ling Han was incredibly moved. Because of Hun Yo, he had always felt conflicted about Shang Jiwei, yet now he felt that this woman was truly worthy of the greatest admiration. However, if it was he would definitely be unwilling for his own women to end their lives in such a manner. However, no one could stop Shang Jiwei. Flames were burning on her whole body. This was her actively burning her life force. A 9th heaven celestial king was destroying herself, so who would dare approach? If they were implicated, that would definitely mean death. Only a heavenly venerate could ignore those flames. But now the 3 great heavenly venerates were fighting intensely, and not one of them could possibly make a move to stop her. Boom! Shang Jiwei had completely burned up, turning into a flame, which finally dispersed in the realm. However, before fusing with Tao, there was not a sliver of pain or reluctance on her face. Her expression was only filled with love. Several epochs had passed, and she was actually able to see her beloved once more. This kind of great joy exceeded all else. She was tired, and only wished to lie in the arms of her beloved, never waking up. Crack, the heaven and earth grieved, expressing their sorrow at the passing of a celestial king. Silly girl. Silly girl. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable was incredibly rueful. He stretched out his hand, and forcefully captured Shang Jiwei's dispersing spirit. Even if she was a 9th heaven celestial king, her Tao would be destroyed once she died. She would disperse completely, not leaving behind the slightest bit of trace of herself in this realm. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable was going against the heavens. He had forcefully gathered Shang Jiwei's spirit, and then conformed it with heaven and earth. Though it was forever impossible for Shang Jiwei to come back to life, she would also never die. She would exist spiritually in the realm, being by the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable's side for eternity. From everyone's perspective, this was an incredibly unfortunate matter, but as Shang Jiwei saw it, perhaps this was the best conclusion for her. No matter how big the realm, how powerful she became, and how strong she was, without the company of her beloved, what meaning was there to it? The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had also exerted his strongest efforts. He could not revive Shang Jiwei, and could only make it so that her spirit would eternally be left in the realm. He shook his head, but Shang Jiwei could not manifest. She was only a 9th heaven celestial king, and was not qualified to leave behind an imprint of herself in the realm. On the other side, the battle of the three great Heavenly Venerates was also gradually reaching boiling point, and also caused the targeting from the heaven and earth to become even more frightening. This was not the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable causing trouble, but rather that their destructive power was really too terrifying. All of a sudden, the three great Heavenly Venerates all stopped. If they continued fighting, they would all be done for. It could not be helped. Who asked them to all be first-tier Heavenly Venerates? As long as they had not surpassed the heaven and earth, they would still be restrained by the heaven and earth. From today onwards, whoever dares to target this brat will be making an enemy of me. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was incredibly domineering, his eyes passing over the great celestial kings, filled with threat. And as for the two of you, he looked at Sealed Emotion and Jiawu. If the two of you dare to target this brat again, I will kill every single one of your line. Are you threatening me? Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable asked menacingly. He had been angered. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu scoffed. So what if I am? If you dare make a move on this brat, I dare to eliminate your line. So what if you are unconvinced or displeased? I don't care. Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable's expression instantly appeared very ugly. Since having become a Heavenly Venerate, when had he been threatened like this? When they had reached heights that they did, they were all working for the sake of transcendence, so how could they possibly care about other matters? But it was a different story for the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, who looked like an absolute ruffian. The problem was that this kind of threat was extremely effective. Whether it was Sealed Emotion or Jiawu, they both had their descendants and heirs. Though beings like them did not attach too much importance to kinship, who would be willing to really have their whole line eliminated? Furthermore, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was really very strong. Only when the Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiawu Heavenly Venerate worked together were they able to stand against him, which made this kind of threat even more realistic because Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had not said that he would spare the two of them. Damn it, how has this guy's strength soared so greatly? However, I can also give the two of you a chance to kill him. Heavenly Venerate Wu Li's words took another turn. As long as they are not superior to this brat by more than 2 minor levels, anyone can make a move on him. I will definitely not interfere. When these words fell, Ling Han couldn't help but grit his teeth. He knew that the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was trying to temper him. However, this Heavenly Venerate had a really high opinion of him, to actually give the allowance of 2 minor levels. It should be known that it was not that the celestial realm did not have monarch stars. For example, if Ji Wuming was superior to Ling Han by 2 minor levels, just how powerful would his battle prowess be? However, no one knew that Ling Han's most powerful strength now was not his cultivation level, but rather his body art. Under the tempering of the power of heaven and earth, his body art had already far surpassed his cultivation level. Even a supreme monarch star like Shui Gu could only be pummeled at his hand. They wanted to kill him with an advantage of just 2 minor levels? Unless the other was also as much of a freak as he was, and had long since touched the power of heaven and earth, this was impossible. Even a freak like Ji Wuming could not do so. If it was a Heavenly Venerate that had reincarnated, and was cultivating from the very beginning again, then it would be possible. But how could it be that a Heavenly Venerate would reincarnate and cultivate from the beginning just for the sake of killing Ling Han? Wasn't that a joke? Sealed Emotion, Jiawu, do you agree? Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu asked, his dominance soaring. Both Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiawu Heavenly Venerate were speechless. The two of them joining forces only managed to barely match Wu Lu, and even if the Green Flames Heavenly Venerate, who had not showed himself all this while, was added into the equation, the 3 great Heavenly Venerates indeed would able to suppress Wu Lu together, but it would be completely delusional if they intended to kill this man just like that. When strength had reached the level that the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had reached, aside from a second-tier Heavenly Venerate, who else would be able to detain him? They could only leave to seek out green flames, and discuss the matter before making their next move. The two great Heavenly Venerates wore an expression like they had eaten a dead child. They each nodded lightly, turned around, and ripped a hole in space, leaving. They would definitely send their most outstanding disciples to kill Ling Han. Additionally, they would also find Green Flame's Heavenly Venerate as soon as possible so that the three of them could cooperate to deal with Wu Lu. Otherwise, when the passageway of the two realms reopened, who knew what kind of problem Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu would cause again? They were incredibly anxious, wanting to transcend, and with this priority in mind, anything else could be discarded. They could sacrifice anything for the sake of this. As they watched the two great Heavenly Venerates actually leaving dejectedly, everyone was in extreme disbelief. These were Heavenly Venerates, supreme beings, and they had actually been forced away. Was the world about to change? Chapter 2373, Battling Huang again. Congratulations, my friend. There is a chance that you will take the second step, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable said. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu nodded, and said, I have heard this brat speak of you. Furthermore, I, too, have to thank you. Without your Heavenly Venerate tool, it would not have been possible for me to escape either. He did not use a respectful address for himself, giving the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable enough face. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable looked towards Ling Han, and revealed a smile. Actually, he had always been paying attention to this disciple, but there was never a time that required his interference, and it wasn't right until this instant that he finally showed himself. Not only had he resolved all of Ling Han's future worries, he had even found a great backer for him. He was also very gratified. This disciple that was separated from him by generations had hopes of surpassing himself. He felt very relieved, being able to delegate the responsibility for the future to Ling Han. Ling Han thought for a moment, and then bowed. Greetings, Master. Since he started cultivating the indestructible Heaven Scroll, he had formed a relationship of master and disciple with the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable, even if they were separated by generations. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable nodded. In the future, you can only depend on yourself. To awaken me, the Tower of Three Realms has also exercised its remaining might. From now onwards, it will sink into slumber. Unless you yourself can attain Heavenly Venerable tier only, then will you be able to revive it. Ling Han nodded. I will definitely achieve it. You are very good, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable said. There was a limited amount of time for him to manifest. In the future, he would rejoin the Heavenly Tao. Though he could be considered as still existing, no one could know, and it would be eternally impossible for him to make any sound. Fusing himself with Heavenly Tao was equivalent to devoting himself to Heavenly Tao, so it was naturally impossible for him to have any individual existence. Heavenly Venerate. The large black dog raced over, howling at the skies. Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable looked at the large black dog with a smile, and said, Little Black, assist Ling Han well in the future. Don't worry. The large black dog stood on its hind legs as he slung an arm around Ling Han's shoulders. I have been taking care of him all this while, and would always invite him in if there was anything good. Ling Han almost sent a kick over. Aside from screwing others over, what else had this damn dog done? I am leaving. In the future, you all will have to walk the path ahead on your own, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable said, his figure becoming dimmer and dimmer. Respectful farewell, milord. Practically everyone knelt down. They had all heard of the past achievements of the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable. He had fused himself with Heavenly Realm, and crashed himself into the connecting point of the two realms, winning a considerable number of epochs of peace for the celestial realm. This kind of great feat naturally deserved respect. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable smiled, his figure gradually becoming fainter as he returned to the heaven and earth. Huang, a black tower descended, yet it had lost all its luster. Heavenly Venerate, the large black dog wept horribly. Usually, he did not act the slightest bit proper, yet it was only now that he revealed his genuine temperament. "Farewell, friend," Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu said as well. Though heavenly tribulation was fearful, he did not care in the slightest. He was about to cultivate the first tier to consummate level. His strength was incredibly high, and just a thought could smash the lightning giants that assailed him into bits. As long as he did not take any direct actions which would cause the targeting from the heaven and earth to become even more frightening, he was definitely indestructible and immortal. He looked towards Ling Han again, clapping his shoulder, and said, "Brat, you have to walk the path on your own, and there is no way that I will pave the way for you either. Moreover, only a path that you have walked yourself will be wide enough, and you will be able to walk farther. If there isn't anything pressing, don't seek me out, but if anyone dares to bully you with their superior strength, I will not spare him either." Ling Han nodded. He, too, had no intention to depend on anyone. As long as their cultivation levels were close, what need would he have to fear anyone? That's right. Just moments ago, the large black dog was crying so badly, but the rate of his recovery was also dementedly fast. He had actually clapped a paw on Ling Han's shoulder, cheekily grinning, and said, "Brat, did you hear that? In the future, you are to run your own course." He paused, and then said shamelessly to Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu, "My lord, in the future, just shelter me. Grandpa Dog is 100 times more handsome, with talent 10,000 times greater than this brat's. Really, you would not be able to find anyone better." Scram! Faced with the large black dog's shamelessness, even Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu could not help but raise his foot and send him a kick. Thankfully, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu was not really angered. Otherwise, if he really kicked solidly, the large black dog could just say goodbye to this world. That's it, then. With a wave of his sleeve, Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu took a step, and was already boundlessly far away. He had been away from the celestial realm for over a dozen epochs, so he naturally wanted to roam around everywhere. Ling Han! Ling Han! Ling Han! A group of youths walked over, gathering around Ling Han. In the past, when Ling Han had shown his great might, killing over 100 ancestral kings through trickery, it had practically been a blinding feat. However, they had not managed to interact with him in time when he had already been forced to flee into the foreign realm. "I anticipate another battle with you," Ji Wuming said as he stood in the distance, arms crossed behind his back. Humph! Huang's eyes were seeping with menace. If the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had not announced that anyone who was superior to Ling Han by more than 2 minor levels could not make a move, he would definitely have killed Ling Han by now. It should be known that he had died in Ling Han's hands once. If it were not for the fact that the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable had heaven-defying power, the grass growing on his grave would already be a foot tall by now. Ling Han had returned to the celestial realm, and his cultivation level had directly fallen to the second secret immortal palace tier, just like how he had been when he had left. However, he had actually converted a portion of his origin power into source power, so he could be considered an ascending origin tier as well. Yet how this cultivation level should be calculated now became a problem. But the aura he revealed now was truly just at the immortal palace tier. Thus, Huang, who had already advanced to the ascending origin tier, naturally could not attack him. Ling Han looked over, and asked, "You are not dead?" Huang's expression became livid, yet he only humphed, and did not reply. "Then I will send you to the underworld once again." Ling Han brandished a fist. His cultivation level was hard to determine, but his body art would not be influenced by the regulations. He still had battle prowess that surpassed the consummate level of the ascending origin tier. "I can't be bothered to fight you," Huang scoffed. "Don't worry. Since it was I that issued the challenge, Lord Wu Lu would not make trouble for you even if I truly died in battle." Ling Han laughed. "How about it? Do you dare to battle me?" Huang's heart was moved. Even if he could not kill Ling Han, he could still cruelly humiliate the latter. This was what Ling Han had invited, wasn't it? Thinking of this, he nodded, and said, "Since you are so determined to ask for your own humiliation, I shall oblige you." He had already advanced into the ascending origin tier. Though he was only at small accomplishment, it was naturally easily done if he wanted to suppress a mere immortal palace tier. "Fourth brother, why don't you let me?" the Rain Emperor spoke up. Though he had had a late start, he was now in the lead as he, too, had successfully advanced into the ascending origin tier. Ling Han shook his head, and said, "I can deal with this kind of trash on my own. There is no need to trouble you, second brother." "All right." The Rain Emperor nodded. He believed that Ling Han would not do anything that he was not certain that he could accomplish. Since Ling Han was so sure of himself, he had to have absolute certainty in his chances of victory. "It will not take a few, I'll be done soon. Second brother, please wait a while, and we will have a proper reunion," Ling Han said smilingly. At first, he had wanted to say a few seconds, but remembering that there was no way the Rain Emperor knew of the concept of minutes and seconds, he changed his words. "Ling Han, you are too condescending," Huang stated coldly. He was incredibly furious, wanting nothing more than to tear Ling Han to pieces. Ling Han crooked a finger at him. "Within 3 moves, I will teach you how to behave." "Enough!" Huang roared, his voice turning into a massive mountain-splitting axe that struck down on Ling Han. "The first move," Ling Han said smilingly as he casually threw a punch. His fist landed on the giant axe, and a terrifying power surged out. Pang! This massive axe was immediately shattered into smithereens, and the power of the punch was not reduced in the slightest, still blasting towards Huang. Huang's eyes immediately bulged as he was completely incapable of believing what he was seeing. Chapter 2374, Universal Education. Huang was dumbfounded. How could a mere immortal palace tier possess power that could match his? No, it was not just power that matched his, but even one superior to his. He hurriedly brandished his fists in a furious barrage, blocking the remaining power of Ling Han's punch, but his figure was being continuously pushed back involuntarily. Tang, with every step he took, the ground itself would tremble, and the whole surface of the ground would sink down slightly. This was because the impact that he was sustaining was too strong. As he stepped back, he was also throwing up blood, and his hair was also stretching out straightly in bursts, as if someone was pulling on it. Right when he had retreated 50 kilometers, he finally stopped. A trail of deep footsteps was left behind, as well as a trail of blood. Everyone was shocked, completely incapable of accepting this. Was he about to defy the heavens? Previously, when Ling Han had shown his might, he had been able to slaughter even ancestral kings and celestial kings. That was because he had obtained the origin magic cube, and also because he possessed a Heavenly Venerate tool, but the neutral zone was already destroyed by now, so there was no way that he could rely on this power. Additionally, that Heavenly Venerate tool had also expended all its power, and the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had clearly stated this. Then how was he still able to be so freakish? This was completely incomprehensible. Ling Han smiled slightly. "Are you prepared to die a second time?" Huang set his eyes on Ling Han, his breathing slightly heavy. After a while, he took out a pair of gloves, which he slipped on. Multiple seals glowed on them, raising his aura by a considerable number of times all of a sudden. This naturally was a precious tool. It was of the ascending origin tier, and he had obtained it in an ancient site. It wasn't until he had advanced into the ascending origin tier that he could completely unleash its full might. Previously, he had not had the chance to use it at all, because his opponents had all been too weak, and there had been no need for it. But now, he still did not feel the slightest bit of confidence even after drawing out this precious tool. His opponent was too strong, and he did not feel the slightest bit of certainty. He couldn't help but ask, just what have you gone through in the foreign realm? The fact that Ling Han could be powerful to this inconceivable level had to be linked with the foreign realm. Otherwise, how could his strength improve so rapidly and greatly with just a venture into the foreign realm and back? Everyone couldn't help but prick their ears. They too were very curious. Ling Han smiled, and said, aside from the celestial realm and foreign realm, there are countless other worlds, and they are called dimensions. There are differences in strength among dimensions. Powerful dimensions would be invading weaker dimensions so that they could devour the weaker dimension, and make themselves stronger to avoid being devoured by dimensions stronger than them. These words were quite confusing, but all the people around were either prodigies or celestial kings. It was no problem for them to grasp the crux of his words. Ling Han deliberately used this chance to speak of the matter of the Genesis world because he hoped more people would know what kind of environment they were presently in so that they could lessen internal strife, and have more motivation to forge bravely onwards in unity. As expected, when everyone heard that there were still a great many more worlds like the foreign realm, they were all stunned, and even the celestial kings were moved. Initially, they had thought that there were only two worlds, the celestial realm and the foreign realm. As long as they could stop the foreign realm, everything would be peaceful. Ling Han continued, all the dimensions are collectively called the Genesis world, and dimensions are also further categorized into low-level dimensions, medium-level dimensions, and high-level dimensions. As for whether there are dimensions even stronger than high-level dimensions, there may be, but it cannot be confirmed. Someone interrupted, then do we belong to high-level dimensions? Ling Han shook his head. Whether it is us or the foreign realm, we are both just low-level dimensions. In fact, we are the bottom of the pile among all low-level dimensions. When these words fell, a wave of commotion arose among the crowd. How could this be? The celestial realm has heavenly venerates, and just what kind of powerful existence were heavenly venerates? There could be no being stronger. Since that was the case, they still could not be considered a high-level dimension? Impossible. You must be grandstanding. Even if we are slightly weaker than the foreign realm, we should still be considered a medium-level dimension at least. Everyone was shaking their heads, completely unable to accept this. Ling Han chuckled. The whole Genesis world is like this. A stronger dimension would be invading a weaker dimension. Take the foreign realm for example. While they are invading us, they themselves are also being invaded by the dark inverse realm. After a pause, he continued, and us? We are only being invaded, yet are not invading other realms. That is because we are already at the bottom rank of all the dimensions. Everyone was instantly rendered speechless. Ling Han's words were very rational, though the prerequisite was that what he had explained about the Genesis world was true. With the invasion of other dimensions, our whole world will be destroyed. Thus, we must not have any delusions, Ling Han stated gravely. Huang was impatient. There were some things that he had heard the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable occasionally speak of. He was completely uncaring whether the celestial realm would be destroyed or otherwise, because if that day truly came, the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable would bring his line and leave the celestial realm with all of them. On the contrary, this was a great opportunity. The sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable could transcend, and bring their line to a high-level dimension. Everyone would have a wider space for growth. Because the heaven and earth was different. The difficulty level of advancing into the Heavenly Venerable tier in a low-level dimension would definitely be higher than in a high-level dimension. It could not be helped, this was caused by the environmental conditions. What does this have to do with you becoming stronger? He asked. There was naturally no need for Ling Han to answer him, but he glanced at the others, and said slowly, because while realms are different, the regulations also seem different, yet there are a great many similarities. Though our celestial realm is slightly weaker, in terms of regulations, we, too, have our own unique traits. If we can combine the two, we can use the strengths of others to make up for our own weaknesses. Then, battle prowess naturally would become even stronger. As he spoke, he shot to stand right in front of Huang with a single step, and shot out a fist. Huang raised his fists to parry, yet with a boom, his gloves flew off his hands, and his whole arm had also instantly turned into a shower of blood. It was like Ling Han was teaching by example, but this was not battle prowess that had been produced after melding the power of regulation of the two realms at all, but rather a body art that he had cultivated through extracting the power of heaven and earth. But for the sake of proving how powerful this was, Ling Han did not care at all. In any case, it was fine as long as everyone understood that his words were true. Realization dawned on everyone. Those powerful celestial kings and prodigies immediately looked tempted. They were all eager and keen, wanting to enter into the foreign realm so that they could further raise their own battle prowess. It was too unfortunate for Huang. There was absolutely no one that cared about his life or death. He gritted his teeth strongly. With how overbearing the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu who was backing Ling Han up was, who would dare to interfere in the idle matters of others? Hadn't they seen that even the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiawu Heavenly Venerate had both yielded? If anyone wanted to deal with Ling Han, they could only send top-tier prodigies whose cultivation could only be superior to Ling Han's by 2 minor levels at most to make the move. But from the look of things now, to say nothing of an advantage of 2 minor levels, even one with an advantage of 10 might not be a match for Ling Han either. Ling Han grinned. I have already attained small accomplishment level of the ascending origin tier in the foreign realm, but because of the different regulations of the celestial realm, I look like how I did when I left the celestial realm. He stated his true cultivation level clearly, which was also deliberately laying a trap for others so that he could draw out those who harbored malice towards him. Though he could no longer depend on the Black Tower now, Ling Han was brimming with confidence, and dared to face all challenges and difficulties. Meanwhile, Huang was extremely depressed. As it turned out, Ling Han's cultivation level was the same as his. Then, with how the former had also fused the regulations of 2 realms, it was no wonder that his battle prowess was stronger than his. Chapter 2375, Kill Again. I forfeit. Huang forced out through gritted teeth. A man could take what came. This time, he was indeed no match for Ling Han. However, after this, he would ask for the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable's help to send him into the foreign realm. In any case, they had an agreement with the foreign realm, so he would not have to worry about being slaughtered and eaten there. When he, too, fused the regulations of the 2 realms, he would return and defeat Ling Han. Ling Han said nothing further, and merely shot another punch. What are you doing? Huang roared in fury. He had already forfeited the battle. Killing you. Ling Han declared menacingly. Previously, Huang had been extremely overbearing. Just because he was the disciple of a Heavenly Venerate, he had acted without any scruples at all in the Saintly Origin Academy, and had repeatedly attacked him even. Did he think he had forgotten it all? You dare. Huang could only parry with a single arm. At most, he could only unleash 80% of his normal battle prowess, so he was naturally even less of a match for Ling Han. Why wouldn't I dare? Ling Han humphed. He dared to attack even the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable, what more a mere ascending origin tier. When he had become a Heavenly Venerate himself, he would obliterate the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable sooner or later. Some celestial kings spoke up to mediate the strife. After all, Huang was a monarch star, and would definitely become a 9th heaven celestial king in the future. He would be a pillar of support for the resistance against the invasion of the foreign realm. Ling Han smirked coldly. I forgot to tell you guys. Sealed Emotion, Jiawu, and Green Flames have already collaborated with the foreign realm, and plan to extract the source power of the celestial realm when the celestial realm is destroyed so that they can realize their own transcendence. Hence, there is no need to expect anything from anyone of their line. In any case, they will not be sharing the fate of the celestial realm. What? When the celestial kings heard this, they all frowned. Some of them did not believe it, but when they thought carefully about the actions of the 3 heavenly venerates throughout the years, it was indeed as Ling Han said. They had not done anything for the sake of resisting the foreign realm. The matter over a dozen epochs ago was one thing. There was no one here that had lived that long, but 8 epochs ago, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had faced off against the foreign realm Heavenly Venerates on his own, and in the end sacrificed his life to barricade the passageway of the 2 realms. There were still many veteran celestial kings that had experienced that battle. Furthermore, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had also manifested previously, and this was proof that could not be more obvious. The 3 great Heavenly Venerates were completely passive. As it turned out, they had long since made their decision to destroy the celestial realm. The only reason that they had not interfered was because they were too strong, and would be targeted by the heaven and earth. Hence, they required the help of the foreign realm to accomplish this in their stead. No wonder. Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had returned from the foreign realm, yet was faced with the assault of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate. Furthermore, they were even determined to kill Ling Han because it was extremely possible that the latter would become a Heavenly Venerate in the future. Whether it was the Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu or Ling Han becoming a Heavenly Venerate, as long as they were there, they would definitely be able to stop the invasion of the foreign realm, or at least delay it, just like how the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had done, causing a delay for as long as 8 epochs. This was detrimental to the benefits of Jiuwu Heavenly Venerate and the others, so they naturally wanted to make a move on Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu and Ling Han. Ling Han shot up high, and brandished a fist which he shot straight at Huang's head. Huang parried. His remaining arm was also completely destroyed. He released a furious roar, but turned around and fled. His opponent was too strong, and there was no way he could be a match. Ling Han burst forth with frightening physical power, and caught up to him in a single step. In terms of short bursts of power, body art naturally far surpassed regulations. He shot another punch, which landed on Huang's back. Peng! Huang's whole person was beaten until he burst. The power he had put into his defense could not even withstand a single blow. Ling Han bathed in Huang's shower of blood, standing proudly in midair. Though the person he had killed was only an ascending origin tier, Huang was a monarch star, and would have definitely become a 9th heaven celestial king in the future, so how much did he weigh? Even celestial kings were speechless, feeling that Ling Han was really on opposing sides with the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable now. He was outrageously brave and truly completely brazen. Ling Han broke into a grin. "Everyone, allow me to clean myself up before we go for a drink." Mainly, he had to first deal with the human slaves that he had brought back from the foreign realm. They cultivated the regulations of the foreign realm, so their strength would definitely drop greatly after returning to the celestial realm. Thankfully, there were not many elites among them at all. Most of them were at the severing mundane tier and below, and had not touched on regulations yet, so the effect on them actually was not very strong. At most, they would only be disliked by the heaven and earth. Ling Han would not interfere with the matter of settling them. In any case, the celestial kings would make their own decisions. Furthermore, they could also peek into the cultivation techniques of the foreign realm through them. This was considerably meaningful. After dealing with this matter, Ling Han went out to meet the others. There were many people, and those closer to him included the Rain Emperor, Yan Xianlu, and the others, as well as his previous 9 doppelgangers such as Ling Hua and the others. Those with more distant relations included monarch stars like Shichanzi and Jialan, monarch tiers, and some whom he had only met once or did not even know as well. Even An Ran had come. After Shang Jiwei had fused herself with Heavenly Tao, the grudges between the Rock Palace and Four Seas Palace could be considered wiped from the slate. Thus, Ran planned to form a truce with Ling Han. Ling Han sighed. Though Shang Jiwei had caused the death of Yun, he had never met Yun before either, so there wasn't any kind of affection between them. However, the care and concern that Shang Jiwei had shown him was genuine and touched him. Afterwards, when he had seen how deeply devoted she was, he truly admired her. After getting Hunyou's agreement, Ling Han and Ran wiped their old grudges from the slate. With the common, much stronger, enemy of the foreign realm facing them, what could not be let go of? Everyone asked about his experiences in the foreign realm, and Ling Han told them all that he could speak of, but did not mention anything about void particle energy. Even if he did, it would be useless. Even ninth heaven celestial kings could not grasp this kind of power. It was only an unrealistic utopian creation, and could not be realized at all. When everyone heard about how he had shown his powerful might in the foreign realm, and defeated various prodigies, ultimately becoming the top monarch star, they were all extremely inspired. Who said that the celestial realm was weaker than the foreign realm? See, Ling Han had proven that someone who had walked out of the celestial realm was completely capable of becoming stronger than those of the foreign realm. Everyone drank and chatted, and Ling Han even took out some ancestral king blood, which he distributed among those close to him. The others were extremely envious of this, and wanted nothing more than to become Ling Han's lackeys. It continued for 7 days, and only then did they disperse and leave one after another. Ling Han then discussed the matters of their alliance with Yan Xianlu and Yi, giving them some resources, especially ancestral king blood. Then, he talked with the Rain Emperor for a while. Adn bestowed a considerable amount of ancestral king blood essence on his second brother. He would naturally not be stingy towards his brothers. He had also lent the Origin Magic Cube so that the Rain Emperor could study it, hoping that his second brother could walk even further. What was causing Ling Han a headache was little terror. This was a war machine born by the heaven and earth of the foreign realm, but the little guy's strength had directly fallen down to Genesis tier after coming into the celestial realm because of the different heaven and earth and different regulations. "I'll think of something," Wally said. As long as the model for regulations is modified, anyone could actually survive in any dimension. Who's this guy? The large black dog ran over. He had shamelessly demanded a few bottles of ancestral king blood essence from Ling Han, not caring about the fact that it was actually already useless for him. A guest from the dark inverse realm, Ling Han replied with a smile. Though the large black dog kept screwing others over, he was definitely trustworthy. The large black dog was curious, and continuously sniffed around Wally. "I can't smell anything human." Wally was unwilling to show weakness, and unleashed a green light scan on the large black dog. When the green light scan reached the spot between the large black dog's legs, the large black dog flew into a rage. Paw! He shot out a paw, and sent Wally flying. Pang! His power was incredibly strong, and Wally was instantly shattered into pieces. Ah, how is he so fragile? The large black dog scratched his head, his eyes shifting around, looking guilty. Chapter 2376, The Large Black Dog vs. Wally. Ling Han was also surprised. He knew that the large black dog had long since gained the strength of a celestial king, but in his eyes, Wally had always been mysterious and unfathomable. To think that he would actually die with a single strike, this was completely unexpected to him. It was like there had been a person that kept bragging that he had been the top elite in this world, and everyone had believed him, yet in the end, he had been pounded into mush by another. This gap was really too far. My condolences. The large black dog patted Ling Han's shoulder, looking as if this matter was completely unrelated to him. You damn dog. Ling Han wanted to kick this guy, but the large black dog was the master of trickery, so how could he possibly allow Ling Han to successfully sneak an attack on him? He instantly dodged with a twist of his behind. Ling Han was just about to speak when he shockingly discovered that the bits and pieces that Wally had fallen apart into were actually wriggling, and surging towards the same spot. This was a little like millions and millions of ants returning to their nest. Very soon, these broken pieces gathered together, and began to fuse. A spherical shape first appeared, and then it sprouted arms, thighs, and neck at the same time. When the head also appeared, the hands and feet also formed, becoming a human figure. Wally had come back to life. Both Ling Han and the large black dog were extremely stunned. You have already been blasted into bits, and you can actually still come back to life? Moreover, there isn't even a scratch on you? Interesting. The large black dog raised his paws, looking like he wanted to play again. Wally's eyes glowed. Xiao, he shot towards the large black dog. You don't look all that powerful, but your destructive power is extremely astonishing, the large black dog exclaimed. He waved a paw to block him, and actually a few hairs were burnt off of him, exuding a faint charred smell. Ling Han knew that this should be Wally using void particle energy. Hence, even if his cultivation level was not all that high, his power was still extraordinary. Let Grandpa Dog see what you've got. The large black dog charged out. He did not use the great might of a celestial king, but rather suppressed his cultivation level to spar with Wally. Wally was aloof. He actually did not even ask why the large black dog wanted to attack him, and merely focused on evasion. Occasionally, his eyes would glow red, condensing terrifyingly destructive lasers of light. The man and dog fought on and on. If the large black dog did not use Celestial King Tyr's power, he could do no harm to Wally at all. Instead, it would create a great problem for him. However, once the large black dog used Celestial King Tyr's power, Wally would not be able to bear it, and would be very quickly smashed. But Wally would not bleed, so no matter how many pieces he was shattered into, there was no need to fear. They would very quickly piece themselves back together, and he would come back to life. Ling Han nodded internally. Wally had been created after the Dark Inverse Realm had expended the resources accumulated over several hundred epochs. If he could be easily killed by a celestial king, that would be too undeserving of the price paid to create him. All right. Let's all just sit down and have some tea, Ling Han said, smiling. After the large black dog destroyed Wally a good few times, he finally stopped, and was even more curious about Wally now. If he, too, could possess this kind of recovery ability, he wouldn't have to fear even Heavenly Venerates in the future, would he? You have expended 30% of my energy, Wally said earnestly, and looked at the large black dog for a while. Bad doggy. Pooh. Ling Han instantly spluttered. He could not imagine that Wally would suddenly pop out with this phrase after a long while of silence. Brother, how did you learn this move? Why don't you teach it to Grandpa Dog? The large black dog clapped a paw on Wally's shoulder, looking like they were close brothers. This was extremely shameless. Wally frowned. I am a supreme war soldier built using superstring material. I am more inclined toward support, calculation, and analysis. You are a pure living organism of the canine species. How could you possibly be my brother? The large black dog's expression instantly turned dark. No matter how he thought about it, the other's words were all insults, but Wally had spoken them so seriously that it was difficult for him to show his anger. But he soon showed an expression of shock and turned to say to Ling Han, "What is this guy babbling about? Why doesn't Grandpa Dog understand?" Ling Han laughed, and replied, "You were birthed by your parents, and as for him? He was created. Hence, if you want to learn this ability of his, you have to first commit suicide. Who knows, maybe they can modify you into a war soldier." The large black dog quickly shook his head. Grandpa Dog is living so free and carefree, and has absolutely no wish to die. Ling Han grinned. Damn dog, do you want to become a Heavenly Venerate? The large black dog's eyes lit up. What? You have some way, brat? Is there some kind of supreme celestial fruit? Quick, give it to Grandpa Dog. Will I become a supreme being upon consuming it? Ling Han glared at him in irritation. Why don't you just ascend to the heavens while you're at it? Brat, are you insulting Grandpa Dog? The large black dog also responded with a glare. Ling Han scoffed, and said, Do you want to learn or not? If not, then forget it. It's not that I have no one to teach. Brat, you really can help me? The large black dog was doubtful. It was much too hard to become a heavenly venerate. It was rare for even one to appear over several epochs. For example, after Heavenly Venerate Wuli's emergence, over a dozen epochs have passed, and only the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had become a Heavenly Venerate. A mere ascending origin tier actually said that he had a way of becoming a Heavenly Venerate. How could a person, a dog believe that? Ling Han put on airs, and grinned. If you don't believe me, then forget it. I believe you. The large black dog nodded hurriedly. Come, explain it to Grandpa Dog. Ling Han patted Wally's shoulder, and said, then it would be on his shoulders. The large black dog was very surprised, but thinking about how Wally clearly did not have a very high cultivation level, yet was still capable of harming his fur, and could recover even after being blasted to bits by a celestial king, how could it be if there was nothing amazing about that? He really was a character. Instantly, he said shamelessly to Wally, Brother, let us talk closely. Wally released a green scan on the large black dog again, scanning him again. Why do you keep scanning me? The large black dog bared his teeth. If he did not believe that the other held the secret to becoming a heavenly venerate, he would definitely pounce and give him a few bites. To examine if you have rabies, Wally said seriously. Ha ha ha. Ling Han laughed raucously. This Wally was no living creature, so how could he possibly get sick? Clearly, this was Wally trying to get revenge. Woof. The large black dog could not withhold himself any longer, and pounced, wanting to bite Wally, but Ling Han just managed to stop him. Thankfully, the large black dog, too, had his own judgment, and wanted to get the method to become a heavenly venerate out of Wally. Thus, Ling Han managed to stop him very easily. Otherwise, if a ninth heaven celestial king truly raged, how could it be that Ling Han could manage to pull him back? Wally still explained the essence of the Genesis world again, and also took out his formulae and models, completely confusing the large black dog. The latter was completely lost, and had absolutely no idea. This was natural. This was completely different from the Tao he cultivated. It was equivalent to having established a different cultivation system, but this was a study of the essence of heaven and earth, so it would not be considered heresy by the heaven and earth. But the large black dog was very cunning. He could see the benefits of this kind of model and formula through Ling Han. Thus, propping up his head, he had already begun to ponder long and hard over it. I want to become a heavenly venerate. From today onwards, I will begin my seclusion. If anyone dares to disturb me, I will bite, no, pummel him to death, the large black dog declared. He dug a hole and buried himself in it. He really was going into seclusion. Ling Han snickered. Even if the large black dog was already a ninth heaven celestial king, it was a small matter to comprehend that model, but more importantly, he had never touched void particle energy in such before, so wanting to successfully convert the model into a cultivation technique was as difficult as ascending the heavens. This damn dog would eventually come to beg him. Chapter 2377, Ancestral Grounds of the Nine Snake Tribe. The large black dog had gone into seclusion, and the Rain Emperor had also begun his seclusion. They had glimpsed a brand new path of cultivation. Ling Han gave some guidance to Yen Xianlu and the others. These people were only monarch stars, with evolution index reaching only up to 9, while Ling Han was a supreme monarch star, whose evolution index was as high as 11. He had already completely surpassed them, and it could be claimed that they were on two completely different levels. Then, he began to mull over his next move. In terms of cultivation resources, he had an abundance. Just ancestral king blood essence alone was something he had a great amount of. To say nothing of helping him attain the consummate level of the ascending origin tier, reaching great accomplishment level should be no problem, at least. Then he asked the women where they would like to travel. After all, they had been away from the celestial realm for so many years. Let's visit father and mother-in-law. In the end, the women reached an agreement. Ling Han nodded. He, too, wished to see his parents, and his son as well. However, Ling Jianxue had forgotten his parents now that he had his own wife, and who knew where he was enjoying life now. When children had grown up, it was up to themselves to walk their own paths. Ling Han decided to first see his parents, and then visit the Heavenly Saint Palace. That was also a place that had nurtured him. He also had to make a trip back to the Eastern Celestial Realm. His uncle, cousin, and other relatives were still there, as well as Little Stone, Azura Demon Emperor, and the other people or non-humans that had been the earliest to follow him. They set out, and they arrived where Ling Dongxing and his wife lived in seclusion after a 6-month-long journey. Seeing their son and daughters-in-law return, the old couple was very happy, but when they saw that there were no new grandsons or granddaughters, they couldn't help but feel slightly disappointed. Why was it that there was still no good news even with so many wives? Yu Hongchang even deliberately pulled the women aside for some quiet words, discreetly asking if it was her son that had some kind of problem in that aspect, or was he being too aloof, and the women all flushed bright red at this. Ling Yuan and Cheng Zilong were also here. When she saw Ling Yuan naturally called out "brother" sweetly, while Cheng Zilong appeared very terrified. After all, Ling Han had previously left behind a powerful psychological trauma for him. Ling Han stayed for a good many days, and gave his parents and sister a great many cultivation resources. He was also continuously cultivating every day, his cultivation level presently rising rapidly. From the second secret onwards, he had been cultivating the regulations of the foreign realm, and now he had to cultivate again right from the beginning, replenishing the regulations of the celestial realm, which helped him to again achieve a new understanding of regulations. Especially when he was still standing at the height of the overlord of a realm, this understanding was naturally even more profound. With time acceleration effects, he already raised his cultivation level to the height of 11th secret in just a short 3 years. Now that he had reached this level, he had actually already returned to the ascending origin tier because a portion of his origin power had already been converted to source power, but he was in no rush to break through. He planned to settle himself and strengthen his foundations further. He planted the reincarnation tree. Since the Black Tower could no longer be used for a very long time, the reincarnation tree naturally had to be moved as well. By now, his need for the reincarnation tree was not too great. He had already cultivated a time celestial physique, and he himself could turn into the flow of time, which was more useful than anything else. According to his parents, Ling Jianxue had returned several hundred years ago, but had left quickly afterwards. When Ling Han knew his son was fine, he was assured. Furthermore, as long as he was in the celestial realm, he would have an instinctive feeling about the safety of his family. Hence, when it was the 4th year, Ling Han was already restless, and decided to leave. Let's go and take a look at the ancestral grounds of the 9 snake tribe first, the Empress suddenly said. Ling Han recalled how he had promised the Empress that they would go to the ancestral grounds of the 9 snake tribe when they had been in the ancient realm. However, due to various incidents previously, this promise had never been fulfilled. Originally, the Empress wanted to return to her ancestral grounds primarily for the sake of completing her divine fetus, but now she had cultivated the greatest eternity everlasting physique, which could be considered the strongest physique in this world. What else could be stronger than time itself? Hence, completing the physique of the 9-snake tribe had become secondary, though having another physique would still be slightly beneficial. Returning was mainly a preoccupation for her, originating from the hope that had been passed through the generations to the Empress. All right. We will go to the ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe first, then return to the eastern celestial realm, Ling Han decided. The group set out, heading towards the ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe. Of course, there was a problem with this. They did not know where the ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe was. Thankfully, the bloodline that the Empress had inherited contained some memories about her ancestral grounds. When she extracted them and compared them to a map, they finally found the location of the ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe after a long period of study. It was in the scorching flames heaven, which was still considerably far from where they were. With the existence of transference portals, the journey was naturally no problem. They used transference portals one after another, saving countless amounts of time on the journey. About half a year later, they entered the scorching flames heaven. The ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe was in the western parts of the scorching flames heaven. There was a great sea there, and there was an island in this sea, which was named 9-snake Island. They arrived at the coast, and Ling Han took out a large ship from his spatial god tool. Because of the Black Tower, he had also developed the habit of placing various items in his spatial god tool. The group braved the winds and the waves, and several days later, a massive island appeared ahead of them. It could be seen that this island originally should have had a massive mountain, but now it had been severed in the middle, and was only about 3 kilometers tall, looking very abrupt. The Empress's beautiful eyes widened slightly. She had finally returned to her ancestral grounds, which made her feel slightly excited. Let's go. They disembarked and landed on the island. The ancestral grounds of the 9-snake tribe had already become ruins many, many years ago. That was because the ancestor of the 9 great ancestral flames had chosen to stand on the same side as the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable all those years ago, and had suffered an attack from the forces that belonged to the Sealed Emotion Heavenly Venerable, Jiawu Heavenly Venerate, and Green Flames Heavenly Venerate as a result, leading to many deaths of this tribe as the rest fled. The Empress was feeling rueful. She had finally realized the long-cherished wish of her parents, grandparents, and countless of her elders, and arrived at the ancestral grounds of their tribe. She walked very slowly, touching gently every blade of grass, every tree, every stone, and every pillar of this place. Who goes there? To actually dare barge into the ancestral grounds of our Luan clan. An admonishment rang out, and a man suddenly shot down ahead of them. He looked to be in his 20s, dressed all in black and majestic in appearance. Huh! Everyone exchanged looks, all appearing slightly surprised. Wasn't the 9-snake tribe almost fully exterminated? Even if there were some fortunate people who had managed to escape that entered into the ancient realm, how could they appear here? It should be known that it was practically impossible to return to the celestial realm after entering into the ancient realm. In the past, just how many forbidden lands were there in the ancient realm that had been forces that had fled from the celestial realm? But after so many years, which one of them had managed to return to the celestial realm? Not even a single one. Your surname is Luan? Ling Han asked smilingly. If the other was really a descendant of the 9-snake tribe, this was inevitably a piece of good news for the Empress. She had finally found family, and was no longer alone. I am Luan Tianjun, this young man declared proudly, and then looked askance at Ling Han and his group, putting on a lofty stance. However, when his eyes passed over such exquisite beauties like the Empress, Huang, and bewitching Maiden Ro, he couldn't help but look stunned. Just how many of you are there? Ling Han asked further. What are you asking this for? Luan Tianjuan's expression became alert, while also appearing slightly impatient. Just who was he? The Luan clan had the bloodline of a celestial king, noble and lofty in status. They could be considered the descendants of emperors. "We're planning to visit family," Ling Han replied, smiling. Chapter 2378, Visiting Family. Wan Tianjun immediately scoffed. How shameless. To actually want to develop relations with the descendants of a celestial king? Just how shameless was this? "Just who do you think you are?" he retorted disdainfully. "Pa!" The empress moved, and delivered a slap right on Wan Tianjun's face, which suddenly sent him flying. So what if they were family? If they actually dared disrespect Ling Han, she would pummel even her own siblings. Wan Tianjun got back to his feet, holding his cheek with his right hand, and showing an expression of both fury and shame. Just who was he? He was the descendant of a celestial king, and someone actually dared to strike him? More importantly, the one who struck him was actually a woman at that, which was unacceptable to him, who was an extreme male chauvinist, and he was humiliated and infuriated to the extreme. "You, how dare you?" he shouted lowly as he sent out a signal for reinforcements. Ling Han smiled slightly, and advised, "Young man, you should be less proud and humbler in the future. In this world, there are a great many people that are stronger than you, and you should always be respectful, or you will be dead before you even knew it." This was really a genuine piece of advice from him. The Nine Snake tribe had only had a celestial king before, and they were a target that was beaten down on at that. How many forces would feel wary about attacking them? If this brat still acted so arrogant when he ventured out, he would definitely lose his life the moment he encountered anyone with great strength or a powerful background. How could Wan Tianjun be willing to listen? He only knew that he had suffered an extraordinary humiliation. His eyes glared furiously at Ling Han, as if the one who had slapped him was not the empress, but rather Ling Han. He did not immediately refute him, because he knew that he could not afford to mess around with this group of people. It was fine. ICE reinforcements would soon be arriving. As expected, only a while later, a loud whistle rang out, and a figure in black arrived in a flash. He was a young man in a tight-fitting black suit. He was extremely handsome, and it was clear that the Nine Snake tribe possessed very attractive looks. He was filled with heroic spirit, and it seemed like there was a great furnace inside his body, exuding a frightening aura. It was obvious he was still very young, but astonishingly, he was already in the immortal palace tier. His talent was indeed extraordinary. This was also the reason for his soaring pride. He stood, arms crossed behind his back. It was only when he set eyes on the Empress, Huang, and bewitching Maiden Ro that his eyes shone involuntarily, but he managed to hide it very well. He was still looking very arrogant. "Greetings," clansmen sang. Wan Tianjun hurriedly paid his respects, seeming extremely respectful, and making it seem like this was not a fellow clansman, but like he was a servant that was meeting his master. Wan sang and nodded proudly, and then asked, "What is going on here?" "They barged into our forbidden land, and even attacked me." Wan Tianjun quickly made his complaint. This Luan Sang was one of the strongest of the younger generation. Even outside, he would still be considered one of the elites, and it was definitely no issue for him to suppress Ling Han and his group. Luan Sang humphed, and only then surveyed Ling Han and his group, stating calmly, "I shall give you a chance to explain. Why have you barged into the forbidden land of our tribe?" If it was not because of the Empress and the others, he would definitely not be so amicable, and would directly suppress them. Ling Han said to the Empress, "Your family do not seem very friendly." Then, turning his head, he said, "Is this a forbidden land? Why did we not see any plaque that said, 'This is a forbidden land, no trespassers allowed,' when we landed on the island?" "Humph, this is the ancestral grounds of our Nine Snake tribe. How could others be allowed to commit sacrilege here?" Luan Sang declared menacingly. His eyes burned with killing intent. Ling Han was the only man in his group, so he was displeased at this, no matter how he looked at it. Hence, he would find a reason to get rid of him. Hehe, it is yours just because you say it is? Ling Han retorted with a laugh. You dare to insult our line, you are seeking death. Wuhan Sang moved aggressively, delivering a palm strike to Ling Han. Boom, a brilliant light filled the skies. He had cultivated his third mystery realm, and now these three mystery realms were glowing simultaneously, exploding with terrifying power. As his strike shot out, it turned into a primordial great beast. Go! Bewitching Maiden Ro moved. She waved her slender hand, which looked like it was made from jade, but that primordial great beast was instantly shattered upon contact. It could not even withstand a single blow. Wuhan Sang couldn't help but feel greatly shocked. He had always had a very high opinion of himself, and thought, what other more outstanding prodigy could there be aside from himself in this world? But the flame of life burning in bewitching Maiden Ro looked like it had only been burning for several million years. How could she be stronger than him? When they were of the same cultivation level, he should be the strongest. Actually, bewitching Maiden Ro had still reserved some power. Though she had not recovered the cultivation level that she should have had at the ascending origin tier, she had already returned to 5th secret immortal palace tier, and added with how she had refined some source power, she actually already possessed a portion of the might of the ascending origin tier. Wuhan Sang was not an 11th secret monarch star either, but rather just a 3rd secret emperor tier. He was completely someone that the bewitching Maiden Ro could insta-kill. His heart was apprehensive, and he couldn't help but ask, just who exactly are you people? All right, no more jokes, Ling Han said, smiling. This wife of mine also has the surname of Wuhan, and belongs to your line of the 9-snake tribe. We initially planned to return to the ancestral grounds to pay our respects, but we did not expect that we would still be able to actually encounter her clansmen. This, Wuhan Sang looked towards the Empress, and paused. Since you belong to the bloodline of our 9-snake tribe, you should possess the mystical power of our bloodline, correct? Actually, the Empress could not even be bothered to recognize these clansmen of hers. With how proud she was, she thought she was ruler of the entire world. Aside from Ling Han, everyone else should bow down to worship her. However, Ling Han thought that she should still recognize them, so she reluctantly agreed. With a thought, her 9 doppelgangers appeared. Wuhan Sang was moved. The line of the 9-snake tribe could form their own doppelgangers. This was a unique ability that belonged solely to them, but because of the purity of bloodline, some clansmen could manifest 5 or 6 doppelgangers, while others could only manifest 1 or 2. Someone who could manifest 9 like the Empress was indeed very, very rare. There were merely 2 that possessed this ability in the entire 9-snake tribe now. So we are a family. Wuhan Sang nodded, a smile appearing on his face. Come, come, come. Everyone, please follow me. The ancestor will definitely be extremely pleased. He made an inviting gesture, and then led the way in front of them. Ling Han smiled, and followed his lead, with the Empress and the other women in tow. Meanwhile, Wan Tianjun was extremely depressed. The Empress had slapped him, which was a great humiliation in his eyes, but it looked like he would not be able to get his revenge for this. The Empress had 9 doppelgangers, and this was a proof of the purest bloodline of the 9-snake tribe. The ancestor would definitely value this incredibly and treasure her highly, so how could he possibly get his chance for revenge? With Wuhan Sang leading the way, Ling Han and the others ascended the mountain. Actually, it only had the height of about 3 kilometers. Very soon, they arrived at the summit. This broken peak was unusually flat, and it could practically claim to be as smooth as a mirror. Perhaps an elite had cut it with a divine sword all those years ago, and that was why the broken peak appeared so smooth and even. Ling Han sent out a strike with a finger, testing the toughness of this rock. Huang, seals actually flashed on the mountain, though they were broken seals. Very quickly, they dimmed again, but they still completely eliminated the force of Ling Han's strike. Wuhan Sang couldn't help but explain proudly, "This is the ancestral grounds of our nine-snake tribe, and has been refined through a supreme secret technique by an ancestor many years ago. It is comparable to a celestial tool." Ling Han only responded with a smile, though he was shaking his head internally. It looked like the members of the Luan clan were still living in the remaining shadow of their ancestor. They kept talking about the nine-snake tribe and how great their celestial king had been all those years ago, yet did not even think about how they had already lost the protection of a celestial king long ago. Where did they still get this feeling of superiority from? This mountain was indeed very tough, but it was only that. Otherwise, it would not have been cut in half in the past. Seeing the lack of concern in Ling Han's expression, Wuhan Sang couldn't help but humph internally as his animosity increased even further. Chapter 2379, Returning to the Family Line. The broken mountain had been reasonably made use of, with multiple palace halls built on it, making it seem very luxurious and magnificent. Ling Han shook his head internally. This broken mountain should be the source of humiliation for the nine-snake tribe, and should be eternally carved into their memories, yet now there was a false facade of peace. Just what were these descendants thinking? It was like Wuhan Sang, Wuhan Tianjun, and the others did not remember at all how their celestial king ancestor had been killed, so they did not feel the slightest sense of shame, and only felt great pride due to being the descendant of a celestial king. There were really a considerable number of people here. When they saw how many there were in Ling Han's group, they all ran out to watch them as they proceeded. The attractiveness of this tribe was really very high. The men were all handsome and the women were beautiful, which was a pleasing sight to the eye. When someone asked about who Ling Han and his group were, Wuhan Sang offered a simple explanation. When they knew that such a supremely exquisite woman like the Empress was actually a member of their clan, the people around all looked proud, as if their only concern was external appearance, and all other matters like strength and cultivation level could be set aside for the moment. "Please wait a while," Wuhan Sang said as he turned to them after he led them to stand in front of a palace hall. Next, he walked into the palace hall. A while later, he walked out, wearing a reserved smile. "Ancestor has summoned you." This declining tribe really had great airs. For the sake of the Empress, Ling Han did not show any temper, and merely responded with a slight smile. The Empress, on the other hand, showed a hint of displeasure, her expression slightly icy. They entered the palace hall. The inside was furnished very magnificently, with the furs of various immortal beasts covering the floor, while precious gems were embedded in the stone pillars, illuminating the entire great hall. They walked all the way to the other end of the great hall. There were various young people seated on either side, and they were all in deep focus, while chanting was presently reciting teachings, calming the heart and spirit, and resonating with heavenly Tao. "Ancestor is teaching," Wuhan Sang said with slight reservedness, but the pride in his expression could not be concealed. "Ancestor is at the consummate level of the ascending origin tier. Furthermore, he is just a single step away from the celestial king tier. When the celestial path opens, Ancestor will definitely manage to become a celestial king. A celestial king with a lofty, noble status, which no one else could compare to." Ling Han really could not bear to see the sense of superiority these people had. He hadn't become a celestial king yet, right? So why were they so smug? "Come." Wuhan Sang led the way ahead, bringing them into the depths of the great hall. A man was seated in a lofty position there. He was an elder with a tall, lanky frame, dressed in white robes and exuding a sagely air. Seal after seal was spat from his mouth, turning into lotus flowers which fluttered around the surroundings, and sank into the foreheads of the young people in the great hall respectively. He was teaching by example. "Greetings, Ancestor." When Wuhan Sang had come close enough, he bowed down respectfully, a heated look in his eyes. This was the strongest elite of the nine-snake tribe, as well as their pillar, an existence that would definitely become a celestial king in the future. The white-robed elder's eyes opened, and his eyes passed over Ling Han and his group. When he spotted the Empress, his eyes shone brilliantly, and then he nodded. Very good, very good. Another descendant with a pure bloodline has emerged from our bloodline. This is a sign that we are blessed by the heavens. Even as he spoke, the lotus flowers of great Tao that were coming from his mouth did not end. Multitasking was naturally no big deal for an ascending origin tier elite. Xuanzang turned his head, and couldn't help but frown. He shouted, "You actually do not kneel when meeting Ancestor?" However, the white-robed elder laughed, and waved a hand dismissively. She has not returned to the line and acknowledged her ancestors yet. There's no need to rush things. As for the others, they were all outsiders. Even if they wanted to bow to him, they were not worthy. "Child, what is your name?" he asked again, very concerned about the Empress. The Empress scoffed. "Just who do you think you are? I have to answer any question you ask." Luan Xing. Yet Ling Han smiled, and answered on her behalf. He wanted to see just how arrogant this tribe had become, and exactly why would they have such an astonishing superiority complex. "What is your cultivation level?" the white-robed elder asked, slightly hesitant. With his insight as a consummate level ascending origin tier, he should be able to tell the Empress's cultivation level with a single look. Otherwise, it would mean that the latter's cultivation level was at the same level as his. He naturally could not believe this. The Empress's flame of life had only been burning for several million years, not even comparing to the scraps of his age. "Immortal Palace tier," Ling Han answered simply. The white-robed elder's eyes involuntarily lit up. Possessing the purest bloodline of the 9 snake tribe, and attaining Immortal Palace tier when she was only several million years old? This kind of aptitude was truly amazing. He laughed loudly. "Good, good, good. Good child." The elder began to talk, mainly about how he was going to gather the 9 snake tribe again, raising himself to a very high position, which Ling Han mocked endlessly in his heart. From the look of things, the Empress's prideful character was really not unique, but rather a common ailment of this entire tribe. After talking for a long time, he finally commanded Xuanzang to bring the Empress and the others to rest as he would hold a ceremony for the Empress to acknowledge her ancestors after selecting an auspicious day. Though the Empress was disdainful, she did not say anything. In the first place, she was a descendant of the 9 snake tribe, so what need was there for her to return to the line and acknowledge her ancestors? Could it be that she would not be a member of the 9 snake tribe without this ceremony? Moreover, she did not have any sense of association with these clansmen. Why was it she was the one required to acknowledge her ancestors? In the eyes of someone as proud as she was, it should be these people that should be acknowledging her instead. Ling Han merely wrapped an arm around her waist, subtly indicating the Empress to keep calm and not to be impatient. After all, these people were her family. He wanted the Empress to have her own family, though relatives like them could only be considered the most distant of relatives. With Xuanzang's arrangements, they were led into a palace hall, and settled down there. A clanswoman who had 9 doppelgangers had returned, and one that had even reached the height of Immortal Palace tier at that. For the 9 snake tribe, this was a serious matter. After all, they were no longer the celestial king tier force they had once been. Even the strongest among them was only at the ascending origin tier, and there was only a single one at that. Hence, this ceremony would be greatly and elaborately conducted. Meanwhile, the Empress brought Ling Han and the others around. She was looking for the lost inheritance of this tribe so that she could complete her bloodline. Previously, she had absorbed the divine fetus of Gu Daoyi, and had also obtained a portion of his memories, so she knew where he had obtained this inheritance from. Thus, she soon found an underground palace, but it was guarded, and others were forbidden from entering. At first, the Empress was going to flip out, but Ling Han persuaded her otherwise. After acknowledging her ancestors, the Empress naturally could enter this place, and there was no need to become hostile now. Of course, Ling Han was not afraid of the ancestor of the Nine-Snake tribe. He only thought that these were the only family members left to the Empress. The Empress considered for a moment, and let the matter go. She only went on a scenic tour with Ling Han and the others while cultivating the regulations of the celestial realm. Once it was time, she would be able to break through naturally, and return to the ascending origin tier. Because the ceremony was going to be elaborately held, the Nine-Snake tribe had also invited a great many guests. The island had become more and more lively throughout the last few days. The Empress was exquisite beyond compare, which naturally attracted the eyes of countless. There were some young prodigies within the clan, as well as guests from outside the clan among them. However, this was the ancestral grounds of the Nine-Snake tribe, after all, and the Empress was a rising star of the clan, so no one made any inappropriate actions. Another 10 days later, the ceremony for acknowledging ancestors was held officially. Everything was going smoothly, but just as the ceremony was drawing to a close, a young man suddenly leaped out, and demanded with great displeasure, "Lord Gui, didn't you say that the person you betrothed to me is the most beautiful in your clan?" He paused, and pointed at the Empress. "Have you all gone blind? I want this one." Chapter 2380, Kong Clan. When the young man jumped out, it was equivalent to having thrown a large rock into a peaceful pool of water, instantly causing a great commotion. "Who is this brat? I can tell that he is only a severing mundane tier, so how can he act so arrogant? That's right. He actually dares to call himself a young master in front of the ancestor of the Nine-Snake tribe. He really is secure, knowing that he has backing. Where has he popped out from? Hush, could it be that you guys do not know of the Kong clan? Hiss, the Kong clan of Three Cloud City? Che, aside from the Kong clan of the Three Cloud City, what other clan with the surname of Kong would dare call themselves the Kong clan? Kong clan is one of the well-known clans of a 4-star force. It is rumored that their ascending origin tier elites number in the hundreds. They have all emerged in the last few billion years, and are all waiting for the celestial path to open. And once they walked the celestial path, the Kong clan would have 5 celestial kings at least. Even a considerable number of great sects cannot compare to this, right? To have 5 celestial kings emerge at the same time, this is practically the stuff of fantasies. Could it be that this brat is a descendant of the Kong clan? His name is Kong Huang, and he is also part of the main line of the Kong clan. It is said that for the sake of obtaining this betrothal, the Nine-Snake tribe not only approached them of their own volition, but also paid a great price for it. If it was me, and I could become in-laws with the Kong clan, would spare no expense, either. No wonder this brat dares to be so arrogant. Still, to flip out in public like this, he is absolutely spoiled rotten. It can't be helped. Who asked him to be a son of the Kong clan? Everyone chattered back and forth. It was like they were telling a story as they gave a clear explanation of the origins of this young man. Ling Han gave an "oh." As it turned out, this Kong Huang had a betrothal contact with the Nine-Snake tribe, but when he saw how the Empress was more beautiful, he was immediately dissatisfied with his betrothed. "Kong Huang, where do you think this is?" "Do not spout nonsense," the ancestor of the Nine-Snake tribe exclaimed in displeasure. No matter how much he wanted to become in-laws with the Kong clan, there was no way he would allow a junior to point a finger at his nose and shout at him. Yet Kong Huang was used to being spoiled, and did not have any fear at all. Raising his head high, he demanded, "I want this woman to be my wife." He looked at the Empress, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. The Empress flew into a thunderous rage, but had not flipped out yet when Ling Han held her back, leaning close to her ear, and said, "Let's just see how your family will deal with this matter." If the Nine-Snake tribe could fully defend the Empress, he would also consider the Nine Snake Tribe his own family as well. With the ability of someone who was about to step into the level of a 5-star alchemist, it was really a small matter for him to help a clan prosper again. But if the Nine Snake Tribe would only push the Empress out to resolve the matter, the Nine Snake Tribe would only be strangers to him. In fact, it was possible that he would erase them on a whim. The Empress nodded, and because Ling Han was too close to her, his warm breath was felt on her neck, causing a faint flush to rise up on her jade-like complexion, and increasing her exquisiteness even more. Kong Shuang was naturally drooling even more, wanting nothing more than to immediately snatch the Empress over. The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe released his aura, which suppressed Kong Shuang, and did not allow him to continue shouting so that the ceremony could be completed successfully. Kong Shuang left on the day itself. "Ancestor, I will go and snipe him." In the Great Hall, someone asked for instructions from the ancestor. The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe thought for a short while, and then nodded. "Make it clean. Don't leave behind any clues." When this boy returned, he would definitely tell tales, and rather than allowing things to progress to the extent when the matter could not be easily resolved, it would be better to kill him directly. None of these people were the type to be generous and kind. Understood. This man left quietly, but not long after, he returned and reported, "Ancestor, I did not manage to catch up with Kong Shuang. He used a precious tool, which was astonishingly fast." The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe frowned. "Has he discovered you?" "No," the person hurriedly replied. The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe nodded, his frown relaxing. It was fine as long as he was not discovered, or the matter would really become a huge mess. Counter soldiers with arms, and water with an earthware then. Now that the Empress had returned to the Nine Snake Tribe, she had naturally gained approval to enter into the underground palace hall. The ultimate inheritance of the Nine Snake Tribe lay there, and after maturity, every clan member had to stay there for a period of time so that they could advance their physique. Merely a day later, the Empress had come out, causing everyone in the Nine Snake Tribe to feel very disappointed. Because normally the stronger the bloodline, the longer she could stay in the underground palace, and only then would the physique she cultivated be stronger. But the Empress only stayed there for a single day, which was less than even the weakest person of their clan. Could it be that her 9 doppelgangers and the cultivation level of Immortal Palace tier were all lies? These rumors immediately arose within the clan. It was truly hard to believe that she had actually come out after only a single day with the bloodline that could form 9 doppelgangers. It should be known that one of the 2 other clan members that had the bloodline of 9 doppelgangers stayed for 49 days, while the other stayed for 47 days. In comparison, the Empress was practically trash. The resolve of the ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe wavered at this. Should they give up this member of their clan? If the Empress had incomparable aptitude, then for the sake of the future of the Nine Snake Tribe, he would definitely protect the Empress to his full efforts. But if the Empress was just an idiot, then the only use for her was as a bargaining chip to be offered in an alliance through marriage. And under such circumstances, someone came from the Kong clan. They put on great airs. 3 ascending origin tier elites led the group, and this was enough to raise the Nine Snake Tribe to the ground. The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe did not dare to be careless, and entertained the 3 of them in the Great Hall. Furthermore, the Empress had also been summoned. After all, she was an involved party. Ling Han accompanied her, while the other women stayed behind in their quarters. Only 4 people had come from the Kong clan, and the last member of the group was Kong clan, but the arrangement of having 3 great ascending origin tier elites in the group was very, very shocking. "Brothers Kong, please." The ancestor of the Nine Snake Tribe raised his wine cup, offering a toast to the 3 ascending origin tier elites of the Kong clan. These 3 ascending origin tiers from the Kong clan were Kongan, Kong Lu, and Kong Yi. They were all at the consummate level of the ascending origin tier, so they were putting on a lot of airs. They were sure that once the celestial path was open, they would be able to become celestial kings. The trio raised their cups reservedly, but they only touched the rim of the cup at their lips slightly, and that was it. Brother Wang Gui, I have to say that you have not been very conscientious in this matter. Kong'an was the first to raise difficult questions. Why do you say this? The ancestor of the 9 snake tribe asked smilingly. When you formed an alliance of marriage with our Kong clan, you said you would offer the most beautiful pearl of your clan, but according to Huang, that is not the case at all, Kong'an stated evenly, and then his eyes turned harsh as he glared at the ancestor of the 9 snake tribe. Are you playing around with our Kong clan? Immediately, a sense of displeasure rose up in the ancestor of the 9 snake tribe. For better or worse, he was also an ascending origin tier, and was at the consummate level as well. He was just short of the celestial path to becoming a celestial king himself. Of course, the majority of ascending origin tiers would ultimately die of old age at this level, and would never be able to cross this threshold. However, the Kong clan had sent 3 consummate-level ascending origin tiers, clearly meaning to intimidate him. A little impatience would spoil great plans. He thought, and then spoke, Wan Xing has only returned to our clan not too long ago, so it was not a deliberate deception on my part. Kong Shuang leaped out, pointed at the Empress, and called out, that's all right, then, you can just marry her to me. Kong'an and the others were all rubbing their beards and smiling, with absolutely no intentions of reprimanding him. Initially, this was absolutely not a situation in which a mere severing mundane tier would be allowed to interrupt, yet they did not reprimand him. This was spoiling him too much. Ling Han stood up first, and did not allow the Empress to flip out first. It was naturally the man that had to step out in this kind of situation. He strode over to Kong Shuang, a faint smile on his face. You are quite brave that you dare to even think of my wife. Very soon, she will no longer be your wife. Kong Shuang declared disdainfully. You will only be a dead man. Ling Han reached him, and sent out a palm strike. Pa, and Kong Shuang was immediately turned into a mess of blood and flesh. Chapter 2381, Smacked to Death. This slap was too quick. To say nothing of the fact that Kong Shuang could not dodge in time at all, even Kong'an and the others did not manage to stop Ling Han in time, and could only watch helplessly as Kong Shuang was turned into a shower of blood. Blood sprayed and spurted on them, but their defensive power was automatically activated, and blocked the blood spray, so none of it touched them. The 3 elites first felt disbelief, but it was quickly followed by thunderous fury as they also felt an indescribable embarrassment. With who they were and how strong they were, they actually allowed Ling Han to kill someone right in front of their eyes. How could they possibly tolerate that? Whoever you are, your only destined path is death. Kong'an declared coldly. You will be hung on the city gates of 3 Cloud City, and suffer 1,000,000 years of torture. Kong Lu continued. The ancestor of the 9 snake tribe hesitated slightly, and then stood up as well. Brothers Kong, this boy has nothing to do with our clan. He hurriedly drew a clear dividing line between Ling Han and their clan. He, just because you say he has nothing to do with your clan, he truly is unrelated? Kong Yi demanded menacingly. Usually, it would only be the Kong clan that would be bullying others. When would it ever be someone else that was bullying them instead? Not only would Ling Han have to die, the Wan clan would also have to pay an enormous price, or everyone would think that the Kong clan was an easy target for bullies. The ancestor of the 9 snake tribe had a grim expression. He had always had a high opinion of himself. As he was someone who possessed the bloodline of a celestial king, his strength would definitely be stronger than the usual ascending origin tiers. Hence, even in a battle of 1 against 3, he still had the confidence that he would not lose. But the Kong clan has practically been blessed by the heavens. The ascending origin tier elites in the clan actually numbered in the hundreds. If they were mobilized all at once, no matter how strong he would still only be able to bow down in submission. Hence, he presently hated Ling Han to death. Killing a severing mundane tear naturally was just a small matter, but the crux of the matter was just how much trouble would be incited after killing him. Yuan Sang discerned his thoughts from his body language, and immediately jumped out, exclaiming, "Ling Han, you actually dare to commit a crime in the ancestral grounds of our nine-snake tribe. Your sin deserves 10,000 deaths." He took the initiative to move, launching an attack on Ling Han. The ancestor of the nine-snake tribe nodded secretly. This clan member was really clever. The former had indeed not doted on him for nothing. Pa! The Empress moved, and sent out a palm strike. Instantly, Yuan Sang was turned into a shower of blood. She was presently an 11th secret monarch star, and had also developed some source power, so her battle prowess had attained the peak stage of small accomplishment level of the ascending origin tier, and was even slightly stronger than that. It was naturally just a small gesture for her to smack a 3rd secret emperor tier to death. Holy fuck! The ancestor of the nine-snake tribe gaped, soundlessly mouthing these words. Because he had not been able to discern the Empress's cultivation level, added with how the Empress had only stayed in the underground palace for a day, he had gotten some ideas, and thought that it was extremely possible that the Empress had lied about her cultivation level. But once the Empress made her move, it was world-shaking. The aura of her cultivation level was indeed only immortal palace tier, but the strength of her battle prowess had spiked all the way to the ascending origin tier. This was too terrifying. How could an immortal palace tier possibly possess ascending origin tier's battle prowess? He had been too closed off, and had absolutely no idea that there were emperor tiers and monarch stars in this world, so he could not imagine how a mere immortal palace tier would actually be able to match ascending origin tier at all. If he had known early on how powerful the Empress was, he should have spared no expense to protect her. Fuck, with such outstanding talent, why had she stayed for only a day in the underground palace? He naturally could not possibly know that the Empress had cultivated a celestial physique of time. In the first place, this physique was supreme in the entire celestial realm. Additionally, she herself was also equivalent to the flow of time. In the eyes of others, it might only have been a single day, but in truth, she was the only one who could know just how many days had passed. Kong An's expression was icy. Why was this couple both so strange? They clearly were exuding an aura that was only at the immortal palace tier, yet had such astonishing battle prowess? You do indeed have some strength. No wonder you dared to commit an outrage, he sneered, his heart already calmed. He merely could not understand why they, being only in the immortal palace tier, could have ascending origin tier's battle prowess, but whether it was Ling Han or the Empress, the battle prowess they both exhibited was only small accomplishment level of the ascending origin tier. Compared to him, they were still very, very far off. What did he need to fear? Take them down. He moved aggressively, grabbing out at Ling Han, and Kong Lu moved as well, launching an assault on the Empress. Ling Han smiled calmly, clenching his right hand into a fist. Without using any power of regulation, he just sent out a very ordinary, average punch. You are seeking death. Kong An smirked Cody. Without using the power of regulation, you dare to clash with me? You only have the battle prowess of small accomplishment level of the ascending origin tier. Even if you unleash all that completely, that is still far from being a match for me. What else could this be but seeking death? He did not want Ling Han to die so easily, so he reserved a portion of his power to avoid landing too strong a blow that would kill Ling Han immediately. On the other side, the Empress did not dare to face consummate level ascending origin tier battle prowess head-on. She turned into the flow of time. It seemed like she was in the present, but also in the past, and in a blur seemed to be the future, all at the same time. Aside from celestial kings that had grasped the essence of the regulations of time, who else could wound her? Pang! Liao Kong and exchanged a blow, and it was visibly Kong An's fist that exploded first, and then his arm exploded with flesh and blood, just like an umbrella that had been opened, revealing eerily white bone. Then the bone, too, shattered suddenly, and his whole arm was gone. Seeing this scene, everyone was gaping in shock, their scalps completely numb. This was too terrifying. This was a consummate level ascending origin tier, and his arm had actually been obliterated with a single punch. Could it be that their previous knowledge was all mistaken? It was the ascending origin tier that was actually the third rung on the ladder of the celestial path, and the immortal palace tier was actually superior? Seeing how Kong An had been defeated with a single strike, Kong Le naturally was in no mood to attack the Empress further. In truth, he, too, could do nothing against her. The three members of the Kong clan all set their eyes on Ling Han, thinking that this young man was practically like a demon, and the ancestor of the 9 snake tribe was also trembling. He had only thought that he had mistakenly judged the Empress. He had not imagined that his biggest mistake was underestimating Ling Han. He had seriously underestimated him. Though he was confident that his strength was superior to that of Kong An and the others, it was still absolutely impossible for him to pulverize one of Kong An's arms with a single punch. Even he was terrified by this kind of battle prowess. Ling Han smiled slightly. Now that I have helped you teach a lesson to an unruly junior, are you really all so ungrateful? You have killed a junior of our clan, and actually want us to thank you for it? Kong An and the others were outraged, but faced with Ling Han's inconceivable strength, they could only swallow their anger and suffer the humiliation. Sir, thank you for moving to help dispose of the dregs of our clan, Kong Yi forced out through gritted teeth, feeling like his heart was bleeding. This was an extraordinary humiliation. Ling Han nodded, and said, you guys would not be so shameless to ask that I move for free, right? You don't have to pay too much, just give me a red packet one. The three members from the Kong clan wanted nothing more than to have a life and death struggle with Ling Han. He had gone too far. Not only had he killed a member of the Kong clan, and wounded an elite of the Kong clan, he actually was asking them for a red packet now. What an intolerable bully. But that amazing strength of Ling Han was clear to see, intimidating them to the point that they could only keep to their best behavior. After a moment's discussion, they took out a spatial god tool which they tossed over to Ling Han. Kong An said, Sir, can we take our leave now? Ling Han asked lazily, was there anyone that was stopping you? The three of them glared hard at Ling Han. They would definitely return and get their vengeance. No matter how strong Ling Han was, he was only a single person, and the Kong clan had over 100 ascending origin tier elites. The majority of them were already at the consummate level of the ascending origin tier, and had the potential to advance to the celestial king tier. With so many of them against him, how could he possibly not be suppressed? The three members of the Kong clan left in dejection, leaving behind the members of the Luan clan that were greatly stunned. Let's go. Ling Han wrapped an arm gently around the Empress's waist. The Empress nodded, without the slightest reluctance. For her, this clan only consisted of a great number of strangers. Wait, the ancestor of the 9 snake tribe called out hurriedly. Chapter 2382, A person hung on the flagpole. Ling Han stopped, turned back round with a smile, and asked, what is it? You want to spar with us? How could the ancestor of the 9 snake tribe dare? Hurriedly, he smiled and said, don't misunderstand, don't misunderstand. Luan Xing is one of our clan members, after all. She has just acknowledged her ancestors and returned to her clan, so it would be better that she stays for a few days longer in the clan. Whether it was Ling Han or the Empress, they were both unbelievably freakish. If they could stay in the ancestral grounds of the 9 snake tribe, that would be equivalent to having gained a powerful backer. Ling Han shook his head with a smile. Old man, don't you think it's a little late to say this now? If the ancestor of the nine-snake tribe had resolutely maintained his stand previously, Ling Han would not have let them go to so much trouble for nothing either. But then what? He had not done anything, and had wanted to detach himself from the matter completely, yet now wanted to take advantage of them. How could there be such a good thing in this world? The ancestor of the nine-snake tribe couldn't help but look embarrassed, yet he could say nothing to refute. He could only shake his head sheepishly. Ling Han and the Empress called the other women over, left the ancestral grounds of the nine-snake tribe, and then headed towards Three-Cloud City. Since they had already formed a grudge with the Kong clan, Ling Han would settle the matter once and for all. Furthermore, he was also very curious about how over 100 ascending origin tiers had emerged from the Kong clan all at once. This was very inconceivable. The ascending origin tier was actually already very awesome. It was the strongest beneath the celestial king tier, and to have so many ascending origin tiers surge forth all at once without the support of a celestial king was very illogical. Ling Han and his group did not travel very quickly. Roaming and traveling, they reached the Three-Cloud City. Before even entering the city, they could see a flagpole that was stuck in front of the city gates, but there was no flag hanging from it. Instead, it was a person. This person's limbs were drooping, and they were twisted at an unusual angle at that. It seemed like it should be a corpse, but Ling Han could sense that there was actually a weak fluttering of divine sense from this person. This clearly was not a provoking action done by some opposing force of Three-Cloud City, but rather a certain force in Three-Cloud City exhibiting their power, and making an example. Thinking further, there was only one most powerful force in Three-Cloud City, and that was the Kong clan. This person should have committed an offense against the Kong clan, and that was why he had been hung on this flagpole. Yet he had not been killed, but rather left to survive on his last breath. The purpose of this was to serve as a warning for others, that they should never become enemies with the Kong clan, or becoming this person would be their future. Ling Han was just about to take a step and continue onwards, but then suddenly stopped, and turned to look at that flagpole again. He sensed that there was something familiar about this person. It was not appearance, but rather divine sense. Who could it be? What is it? The Empress asked. Ling Han was still looking at the person hanging from the flagpole, and asked, "Don't you guys think that we seem to have met this person before?" The Empress studied him carefully, and then shook her head. With her incredibly proud personality, how could she possibly bother to remember people she had met? Understanding suddenly flashed in Ling Han's head, and he exclaimed, "I remember now." When his words fell, he immediately waved a hand. A powerful gust of air swept out, and the ropes that were tied around that person split apart. Instantly, that person fell towards the ground. Ling Han stretched his hand again, picked the person up, and then laid him evenly on the ground. "How dare you?" There were guards at the city entrance, and when they saw how Ling Han actually dared to rescue him, they were instantly enraged. They all rushed over. There were only 8 of them at the city entrance, but with a series of shouts, another team of guards rushed out. There were more than 30 of them now. Ling Han ignored them, and instead placed a palm on the shoulder of that person. As regulations of wood activated, filled with vitality, that man's injuries were being healed. He frowned slightly. The Kong clan were really ruthless in their actions. They had first caged this person's power, and then planted some kind of secret technique which was devouring this person's vitality, causing incredible agony for him. Yet this person could not die in the short term, and it would last at least tens of thousands of years. What grudge or enmity was there between them that they had to go to such cruel lengths? "I was talking to you," a guard shouted. Brandishing the spear in his hands, he stabbed it towards Ling Han's shoulder. Huang abruptly roared, which turned into a deafening dragon's roar. "Pah!" The spear in the hands of that guard was instantly shattered. Even the space between his thumb and forefinger split apart. Releasing a pained cry, he slid back continuously. The guards immediately looked like they were facing a powerful enemy as they all raised their weapons, aiming straight at Huang. Huang naturally would not be concerned. Instead, she giggled, and said, "Whichever of you are feeling an itch, Nyo will come to deal with you." Ling Han stimulated the regulations of wood, helping the wounded man heal. He had previously possessed the source powers of heaven and earth. Though he had given them up of his own volition, they had still left a brand behind on him. This naturally was extremely powerful, and the secret technique in that person's body was also being erased bit by bit. Because he could not injure this person, Ling Han progressed at a very slow speed. Fortunately, he stimulated the regulations of time, and time acceleration effects immediately took place. In only over a dozen minutes, the secret technique in that person's body was already unraveled, and with the nurturing and revitalizing effects of the regulations of wood, the person also recovered considerably. His eyelids trembled slightly, and then snapped open. "Fuck, indeed never anything good happens when I see you, brat," the person said. Ling Han laughed loudly. "I have saved your life, and you're not even going to say thanks?" This person was the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire. In the past, he had set out on his own the moment they had entered into the celestial realm. He had not anticipated that they would reunite at this time and place, and that he would be so badly off to the point of almost dying. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire forcibly sat up, and looking at the surroundings, he couldn't help but frown. Not good. This is still Three Cloud City. Let's go. Once the Kong clan rushes out, we will be in big trouble. It's fine. If we are really caught up with by your enemies, I will hand you over to them. In any case, it has nothing to do with me, Ling Han joked. Humph, it is already too late for you to know fear now. A cold laugh rang out, and a young man was seen walking out of the city. He was dressed in rich robes, and actually even held a folded paper fan in his hand. He was waving the fan with every step, very much a show-off. Ling Han ignored him, and asked, "So you have a grudge with the Kong clan?" "Great, I too want to seek them out, so we'll clear your debt as well while I'm at it." "No." The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire hurriedly shook his head. "Though your natural talent in cultivation is extraordinary, that is only limited to the ancient realm. Once we have entered into the celestial realm, there are many, many other more outstanding prodigies than you hear. The Kong clan has over 100 ascending origin tiers, and you have only cultivated for several million years. How could you be a match for them? Even if it was he who was recultivating from the beginning, he had just advanced into the Immortal Palace tier now. The gap was astonishingly wide. Even he was this way, what more when it was Ling Han? Ling Han put on an act of displeasure, and demanded, "Are you looking down on me? Fuck, let's flee quickly. Anything else, we can talk later," the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire urged. He had no wish to hang on the flagpole again. "Want to flee?" The young man in embroidered robes smirked coldly. His nostrils were spurting flames in his fury. Not a single member of Ling Han and his group actually gave him any regard, and they were still openly and brazenly talking about fleeing. Did they think he was dead? "Anyone who becomes enemies with our Kong clan will never have long to live," he declared menacingly. "And who are you?" Ling Han asked. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire couldn't help but moan. There was such a wonderful chance for them to run, which Ling Han was not using, but was actually spending it on bickering. The young man in embroidered robes humphed, and declared, "I am Kong Xiang." He paused, swept a glance over Ling Han and his group, and then demanded proudly, "If you kneel down now and beg for mercy, I can consider sparing your lives." Ling Han laughed, turned his head, and commented, "I discover that the members of the Kong clan really have a natural talent at jokes." The women also gave him face by laughing lightly. Kong Xiang was enraged. He drew a long spear, and suddenly rushed towards Ling Han rapidly. He delivered a sweeping strike with his spear, which exuded formidable might. Chapter 2383, Reason for the Calamity. In the younger generation of the Kong clan, Kong Xiang's natural talent was not too weak. Though he had only been cultivating for just over 100,000 years, he was shockingly already a fourth severance. This spear was extremely frightening. As the seals lit up one after another, it seemed capable of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Ling Han blew out a breath of air, and a gust of wind surged out. Kong Xiang's charge immediately came to an abrupt stop. His whole person seemed like he was in slow motion. He was taking steps with great difficulty, and the clothing that he was wearing was also torn to shreds by the terrifying force of the gust, instantly turning him naked. As the gust swept past, Kong Xiang suddenly stumbled, almost dropping onto the ground. When he discovered the embarrassing state he was in, he hurriedly moved to cover the spot between his legs, but when he realized that even if he had managed to cover the front, there was nothing covering his back, his grip on the spear couldn't help but loosen as he used the other hand to cover his behind. His face was completely flushed red, and he felt that Ling Han was really too immoral to actually use such an underhanded trick. He was too shameless. Ling Han laughed loudly. No need to cover it. It's not that much bigger than an ant, so there is no need to worry that it would be seen at all. Why you? Kong Xiang pointed his finger at Ling Han, but when he pointed, he realized that he was about to reveal himself again. Quickly, he withdrew his hand, his face bright red as he wanted nothing more than for there to be a hole in the ground where he could bury himself in. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire sighed, and said, Ling Han, this person is only a fourth severance, but the Kong clan has many elites, so run faster. Will you do it if I call you Big Brother? I am your big brother in the first place. Ling Han grinned. He clapped a hand on the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire's shoulder. Don't worry. Big Brother will protect you. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was depressed. I have already warned you. If you are captured, hung up, and beaten, don't say I didn't warn you. Didn't I say that I would hand you over if I was outmatched? Ling Han began to tease him again. Scram! The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire rolled his eyes at him. Kong Xiang quickly took out clothing from his spatial god tool which he changed into, and breathed a sigh of relief. He picked up his spear again as he glared furiously at Ling Han. If eyes could kill, Ling Han should have died countless times over. He did not dare to make any further moves rashly. Though Ling Han had not revealed his strength previously, Kong Xiang had been forced to a stop with just a breath of air from the former, and it even tore his clothes to shreds. This strength was definitely superior to his, and it was not just by a little bit, either. It should be known that the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was an immortal palace tier, so based on the fact that Ling Han could be friends with him, he, too, should be an immortal palace tier as well. Losing at the hand of someone like this, there was no need for him to feel ashamed. As he sent out a signal for reinforcements, he kept his eyes on Ling Han, and demanded, Who are you? To dare trifle with our Kong clan, do you dare to announce your name? Ling Han smiled faintly. Originally, a minor character like you would not be worthy of talking to me, but who asked that I am not the type to put on any airs? My name is Ba. Ba? Kong Xiang mumbled as he searched through his knowledge to see if there was someone who matched that name. Yes, good son. Ling Han nodded. Fuck, he had been tricked. Kong Xiang glared at Ling Han furiously, and even his hair stood on ends. He felt that Ling Han was really too despicable. He was clearly an immortal palace tier, yet had actually taken advantage of him, a mere fourth severance, repeatedly. How could he do that? Just how did you make enemies of the Kong clan? Ling Han paid no further regard to Kong Xiang. There was really no need for him to take such a minor character to heart. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was glum. Could you find a different time and place to ask this question, you curious brat? I've already told you that we need to flee, we need to flee. Why do you not listen at all? Remember how I was hunted, and forced to flee into the lower realm? He still explained, or he would feel uncomfortable. Ling Han gave an "oh." It has something to do with the Kong clan. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire nodded. That was a matter of several 100 million years ago. I obtained a treasure map, yet the ancestor of the Kong clan got wind of it, and thus pursued me. Though I managed to fortunately escape with my life, the treasure map still fell into the hands of the ancestor of the Kong clan. This could be imagined. In the past, when the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire fled into the lower realm, he was only left with a sliver of divine sense. A great immortal palace tier elite actually needed the lower realm to help him gather materials to rebuild his body, which showed how miserable he had once been. The treasure map being snatched away was also within reason. Then the reason why you have come here was to take back your treasure map? Ling Han asked. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire shook his head. It's already been so many years, and the Kong clan must have taken out the treasure by now. Moreover, the Kong clan had previously just been an ordinary 4-star force, with only a single ascending origin tier, yet now there are as many as over 100 of them. He paused. This must be linked to that treasure trove. Ling Han agreed. If nothing unusual happened, how could an ordinary 4-star force possibly leap to the top tier with a single bound? A horse couldn't get fat without an extra ration, and a man couldn't get rich without an extra income. Furthermore, he was sure that the Kong clan would have obtained 1 to 2 celestial kings by now if it were not for the fact that it was required to walk the celestial path to become a celestial king. The treasure trove that they had obtained had really been useful. I am indeed dissatisfied, but I have not yet cultivated to the ascending origin tier, so I naturally could not have come to deliver myself to death. I merely wanted to observe the situation. However, I mistakenly befriended a vile character, and leaked the secret of my identity. In the end, the Kong clan captured me, and I suffered great torture. I have already been hung up there for over 10,000 years. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire sighed, feeling a coldness from being unable to bring himself to look back on his past. It had been 10,000 years, and merely being hung on the flagpole, exposed to the elements, and being mocked and ridiculed was not something a proud prodigy could bear, what more when restrictions had been placed on him as he was constantly enduring a great agony. Ling Han gave an "oh." This Kong clan was truly cruel. They were truly the typical standard to kill others for the sake of treasure. But in the greater environment of the celestial realm, this kind of situation seemed to be commonplace, and most people would choose this course of action. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. Another few figures appeared. The reinforcements from the Kong clan had arrived. This time, a few immortal palace tiers had arrived. Though they were strong, because Three Cloud City was really too big, the journey here would also require a long period of time. Even if they had gotten the news and set out immediately, it was only now that they finally reached their destination. 9th Elder. 11th Elder. 19th Elder. Kong Xiang quickly called out. As he saw so many elites come all at once, his confidence was immediately replenished. A middle-aged man's eyes swept over Ling Han's face as quick as lightning. It was like a bolt out of the blue, capable of causing blindness. He humphed heavily. Who are you, to actually dare interfere in the matters of our Kong clan? Can't it be that I am just intervening because I can't bear the injustice? Ling Han smiled, and pointed at himself. A real man does not change his name. My name is Ba. Ba? This middle-aged man was also duped. He murmured this word, mulling over this name. Good son. Ling Han nodded. Only now did the middle-aged man realize that he had been tricked. He couldn't help but fly into a rage, his expression darkening quickly. You actually dare to play such tricks in front of me, how preposterous. No need to waste words on him. Let's just take him down directly, and hang them both at the city gates, another middle-aged man said. He was short in build, but his aura was considerably astonishing. He was like a wild beast, and one would feel a chill rise up from the bottom of one's heart with just a look from him. All right. The first middle-aged man nodded. He stretched out a hand to grab Ling Han, and this turned into a giant black-colored hand. The mystical power of Immortal Palace tear blazed. This blow was extremely terrifying. He did not underestimate Ling Han, because based on Kong Xiang's report, Ling Han was definitely in the Immortal Palace tier. Chapter 2384, Recognized. Ling Han smiled faintly before taking a small breath and exhaling. Raging wind instantly swept forth. However, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire shook his head upon seeing this. His opponent was Kong Lingqi, a third secret Immortal Palace tier elite from the Kong clan. How could he be regarded as someone on the same level as Kong Xiang? Even the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire would have to unleash his full power against him. Otherwise, he would definitely be killed. Yet, Ling Han was simply blowing some air. What was this? Celestial wind? Meanwhile, Kong Lingqi was also infuriated. This brat actually dared to attack him with a breath? Why didn't he spew some hot air to blow himself to death? You're seeking death, he roared with a humph. He rapidly pressed down with his large hand, yearning not to only suppress Ling Han, but also to subject him to immense torture. Otherwise, he couldn't quell his anger. Whoosh! The wind howled, and a devastating power swept through the surroundings. Kong Lingqi's attack was utterly futile as it was immediately crushed into pieces, scattering with the wind. However, the wind didn't stop, and it continued to howl toward Kong Lingqi, causing him to sway. Thud, thud, thud. He retreated several steps, with his clothes all torn to shreds. He looked much like a fluttering butterfly. When the wind dispersed, it was clear that Kong Lingqi had suffered the same fate as Kong Lingqi was but naked. Tisk! Ling Han couldn't help but feel astonished. This was because Kong Lingqi was also smooth and bare down there. This wasn't an innate condition, but rather a result of external action. Fuck, he truly knows how to toy with them. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire and the remaining members of the Kong clan were all stupefied. With a single breath, Ling Han had actually repelled the attack of a third secret elite. Not only that, but he had even shredded his clothes. Just what kind of astounding power was this? Ascending Origin Tier, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire exclaimed with a gulp. He was filled with shock and disbelief. Ling Han had actually ascended to the Ascending Origin Tier? The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was still only at the Immortal Palace tier. One had to realize that he was recultivating, so his cultivation speed should have been hundreds or even thousands of times quicker than Ling Han's, yet he was actually surpassed. No wonder Ling Han was brimming with confidence. As an Ascending Origin Tier elite facing off against a fellow Ascending Origin Tier elite, even if he were much weaker, he could still come and go as he pleased as long as he wasn't encircled. He could do as he pleased. He's only at the Immortal Palace tier, so how in the world is he so powerful? The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was in a bad state right now, so it was understandable that his judgment would be off. However, the members of the Kong clan were fine, so their judgment naturally wouldn't be affected. They were all beside themselves with shock. Ling Han was clearly exuding the aura of an Immortal Palace tier elite. They hurriedly sent another signal, asking for more reinforcements. Ling Clan smiled, and said, "Since you're all calling me father, why don't you come over and pay your respects?" He plucked the members of the Kong clan up as if he were an eagle plucking at small chicks. He then forced them to kneel in a row before the city gates. At the end of the day, he was acquainted with the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire, while he only harbored disgust and contempt toward the Kong clan. Thus, since he was free anyway, he decided to vent some anger for the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire. "You're still only at the Immortal Palace tier," the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire exclaimed in astonishment. Ling Han pondered for a moment before replying, "It's hard for me to answer with a direct yes or no." The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire rolled his eyes upon hearing this. He either was at the Immortal Palace tier, or he wasn't. How was this hard to answer? Ling Han continued, "After all, you're not aware of the existence of the foreign realm. What if I told you I reached the ascending origin tier there? However, after returning, I was suppressed back to the second secret. Right now, I've recultivated back to the 11th secret. Do you understand?" The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire chuckled in reply. "Reaching the ascending origin tier in some foreign realm? What foreign realm? Moreover, what the hell is the 11th secret? Do you take me for a fool?" Ling Han couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Those who had ascended from the lower realm were now extremely far apart, not only in terms of cultivation, but also in terms of knowledge. Not mentioning himself, the Rain Emperor had also advanced to the ascending origin tier and become a monarch star. Huang was no different. However, people like Feng Peyun, Mu Rongqing, and the others had only reached the dividing soul tier at the highest. Meanwhile, even with a lifetime of experience, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire had only recultivated to the Immortal Palace tier. Moreover, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was clearly unaware of the existence of monarch tiers and monarch stars. He was more so unaware of the battle between dimensions. However, after dropping that huge bomb in the two-realm battlefield, Ling Han was confident that the entire celestial realm would soon learn of the true faces of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the two other Heavenly Venerates. They would also learn about the invasion being carried out by the foreign realm. Creating an illusion of peace was of no benefit to the future of the celestial realm. Moreover, the foreign realm was also trying to shake the foundations of the celestial realm by spreading their practice of praying to deities. It was necessary to alert the entire celestial realm to guard against this. "Let me fill you in," Ling Han said with a smile. He then started to tell the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire about the battle between dimensions. While explaining this, he also mentioned the existence of monarch tiers and monarch stars. The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire felt as if he were dreaming. In fact, even the members of the Kong clan didn't dare to believe this. The world they lived in was actually this dangerous? They were at risk of being invaded by another realm at any moment? They were at risk of being completely massacred? When Ling Han finished speaking, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was completely and utterly stupefied. He was rendered absolutely speechless. The members of the Kong clan didn't fare any better. Right now, their only thought was that Ling Han had definitely gone mad. It was also at this moment that the reinforcements from the Kong clan arrived. Humph! Who dares to challenge the might of the Kong clan? A large group of people marched over, with the leader wearing an expression of incandescent fury. This person had actually forced the members of the Kong clan to kneel in a row? How humiliating! Many people arrived this time, and their cultivation levels also varied greatly. Some were at the ascending origin tier, some were at the immortal palace tier, and some were even at the dividing soul tier or severing mundane tier. However, only 4 of them were at the ascending origin tier. Ling Han, someone suddenly stammered in a shaky voice. Ling Han looked over before grinning, and saying, "I remember you. You're Kong Yi, correct?" He was one of the 3 ascending origin tier elites from the Kong clan who had gone to 9 Snake Island at that time. However, to his shock, not only had Ling Han not fled, but he had even charged into 3 Cloud City. Not good. Kong Yi exclaimed in his mind. This was because a large majority of elites from the Kong clan had been dispatched to Nine Snake Island to hunt Ling Han. However, this brat defied their expectations, and he had actually come straight to Three Cloud City. Was he seizing this opportunity to destroy the Kong clan? Ling Han? Ling Han? Ling Han? Some of them wore blank expressions. Who in the world was Ling Han? However, the color drained from the faces of those in positions of power at the Kong clan. He was an unfathomably terrifying person. With a single punch, he had easily obliterated the arm of Kongan, forcing the three elites from the Kong clan to flee from Nine Snake Island in disarray. They had been utterly humiliated. Now, this Death Star was actually in Three Cloud City. What do you want? Kong Yi yelled in a fierce voice. Yet, it was clear that his heart was gripped with fear. Ling Han was like an insurmountable beast. Ling Han patted the shoulder of the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire, and said, "He's my underling, yet he was tied up and brutally beaten by you people. Now, I've naturally come to avenge him." The members of the Kong clan all felt extremely vexed. When going to Nine Snake Island, it had turned out to be an ancestral ground of Ling Han's wife. When punishing an opponent of the Kong clan, it turned out that he was actually Ling Han's underling. Was the Kong clan destined to clash with this person? The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire felt even more vexed. "I'm not your underling." At that time, when Ling Han had begged him to teach him some mystical powers, he had put on all the airs he could, yet he had become an underling now? Ling Han roared with laughter, and said, "Many people beg to become my underling, yet there's not a chance in hell that they can. If you hadn't been a good friend of mine, I wouldn't have opened such a back door for you, either." He glanced at the members of the Kong clan, and said, "Come on, let's pay a visit to your clan. I want to see what kind of dangerous place it is." "Ling Han, don't push your luck," Kong Yi roared. However, they only had 4 ascending origin tier elites present, and there were only 5 more back at the clan quarters. Could the 9 of them stop Ling Han? He didn't have a shred of confidence. "Obediently lead the way," Ling Han said with force. Chapter 2385, The Kong Clan is no more. Just how powerful was Ling Han now? When he unleashed his body art, he could reach a vitality index of over 4,400. This was thanks to the might of the Heavenly Venerate blood from Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu. However, this blood hadn't unleashed its might all at once, and it would gradually allow Ling Han to become more powerful. Even though Heavenly Venerate Wu Lu had already removed the murderous aura from the blood, if it unleashed all of its might at once, Ling Han would definitely still be killed several times over. If this blood were bestowed upon anyone else, even though they would also receive huge benefits, it would still be incomparable to what Ling Han had received. This was because only Ling Han could draw on the power of heaven and earth to temper his body. These two notions were aligned. If one couldn't draw on the power of heaven and earth, they would also fail to fully utilize the potential of Heavenly Venerable blood. Right now, Ling Han was far too ferocious. With a few strikes, he easily defeated the 4 ascending origin tier elites from the Kong clan. Of course, this was easier due to the fact that only Kong Yi had reached the consummate level of the ascending origin tier. The other 3 were either at the small accomplishment or the great accomplishment. The gulf between them was far too great. After being suppressed by Ling Han, the members of the Kong clan had no option but to lead this wolf into their house. Upon arriving, the remaining 5 ascending origin tier elites also charged forward to attack them. However, they couldn't even defeat the Empress and Huang before being suppressed. And thereupon, Ling Han occupied their clan headquarters. Right now, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was living the high life, recuperating in the Kong clan with 3 ascending origin tier elites serving him. If he were slightly unhappy, he would chide them with no reservations. After suffering for over 10,000 years, he was naturally pent up with rage. However, he was even more worried about the treasure map that the Kong clan had obtained at that time. Just what kind of treasure had they found? It had actually allowed them to flourish to this stage. Ling Han was also filled with curiosity. He dragged the ascending origin tier elites over, and interrogated them again and again. This was evidently a big secret of the Kong clan. Thus, the ascending origin tier elites at the small accomplishment and great accomplishment were indeed unaware of it. They were completely dumbfounded no matter what Ling Han asked them. Only Kong Yi acted secretively and suspiciously. Ling Han couldn't be bothered plucking his soul, so he handed this task to bewitching Maiden Ro. She was a master of controlling others. With bewitching Maiden Ro's cultivation, she shouldn't have been capable of affecting an ascending origin tier elite at the consummate level. However, Kong Ye's cultivation had been sealed by Ling Han, so he couldn't resist her ability at all. With a few simple questions, he quickly revealed all that he knew. Following the treasure map, the Kong clan had managed to uncover an astonishing treasure trove. They had obtained an enormous number of alchemical pills, and it was these alchemical pills that had helped them soar in leaps and bounds in these past several billion years. In such a short span of time, they had gained hundreds more ascending origin tier elites. However, this treasure chamber still contained many seals that had yet to be undone. Thus, the Kong clan had only obtained a portion of the treasures. Because of its importance, even Kong Yi didn't know where this treasure chamber was located. This secret was buried deep in the heart of the ancestor of the Kong clan. The treasure storage of an ancient celestial king, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire, asked in excitement. However, Ling Han said, with so many alchemical pills, enough to help hundreds of people advance to the ascending origin tier, I suspect that this isn't the treasure storage of a celestial king. Instead, it's probably the treasure storage of a 5-star alchemist. His heart thumped in excitement. He was only a step away from becoming a 5-star alchemist. If he were able to interact with some 5-star alchemical pills, perhaps this door would be pushed open, allowing him to take the final and most critical step. 5-star alchemist. An expression of respect and reverence involuntarily spread across the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire's face. It was arguable that becoming a 5-star alchemist was even more difficult than becoming a celestial king. Even though there were few celestial kings in the world, it wasn't that they were extremely rare either. However, 5-star alchemists were as rare as could be. Such was their status that even lower-level celestial kings would have to pay their respects to them. Higher-level celestial kings would also need to treat them with respect. Ling Han shook his head, lightly punching him in the shoulder, and saying, "There's nothing special about 5-star alchemists. In the near future, your older brother will also become such an existence." Ha! The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire naturally didn't believe this. Being talented in cultivation and being talented in alchemy were two completely different things. Ling Han didn't explain himself. In any case, there would come a day when his underling would become transfixed with shock. After waiting for just 2 days, the army of the Kong clan finally came charging back. "Get the fuck out here," an old man with white eyebrows and white hair bellowed. He was tall and sturdy, and he was dressed in a red robe. He was none other than the clan leader of the Kong clan. At the same time, he was also the first ascending origin tier elite of the Kong clan. He was the one who had obtained the treasure map. Upon arriving back at the clan, he was immediately flooded with wails of grief and vexation. This was naturally because the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire had been far too wanton about taking his anger out on them. The past 2 days had been agonizing torture for the members of the Kong clan. It had only ever been them enslaving others. How could they possibly accept the opposite? Crack! Lightning shook heaven and earth as dark clouds formed above the Kong clan. This was heavenly tribulation. The members of the Kong clan were all given a fright. Heavenly tribulation was indiscriminate, and its rage could easily reduce the entire Kong clan to rubble. Whoosh! A figure soared into the sky. It was none other than the Empress. She had accumulated enough experience, so she resolutely unleashed her cultivation to invite heavenly tribulation. She cared nothing about others, so she naturally didn't give a toss about whose home this was. In any case, it would be fine as long as it wasn't her own home. Thus, she decided to face her tribulation here. Crack! 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 Deafening thunder rumbled as arcs of vicious lightning blasted toward the Empress. The Empress was an extraordinary being. She was an 11th secret monarch star, and she had even cultivated some source power. Thus, in the eyes of heaven and earth, she was an anomaly that couldn't be tolerated. As such, this heavenly tribulation was as terrifying as could be, its power far surpassing what ordinary cultivators at the small accomplishment of the ascending origin tier would face. This greatly alarmed the members of the Kong clan. They thought this was an elite advancing from the small accomplishment to the great accomplishment. Moreover, even though heavenly tribulation wouldn't strike innocent people, it would be indiscriminate toward buildings and other inanimate objects. After just 2 or 3 strikes of lightning, the Kong clan was already reduced to ruins. Ah! The elites of the Kong clan all roared in fury. However, they were completely powerless to stop this. Would they dare to charge into heavenly tribulation to drag the Empress away? If they dared to interfere with heavenly tribulation, they would be ruthlessly targeted by heaven and earth. Apart from freaks like Ling Han, who dared to face heavenly tribulation for fun, all they could do was bellow in rage, swearing to themselves that they would definitely crush Ling Han and the others to death. After half a day, the dark clouds finally dissipated, signaling the conclusion of heavenly tribulation. The heaven and earth of the celestial realm wasn't as powerful as the heaven and earth of the foreign realm, so its heavenly tribulation would also last for a much shorter time. Just as the members of the Kong clan were about to unleash their fury, dark clouds formed above their heads again, signaling the arrival of a new heavenly tribulation. Fuck! What's going on? They're lining up to face tribulations? Nyo is also going to play. Hunyo shouted in excitement. She dashed into the sky, beginning to face her tribulation. The members of the Kong clan all wore ashen expressions. Even though their headquarters had been destroyed by the Empress tribulation, there had still been a possibility that they could have rebuilt it. However, with Hunyo's tribulation lashing down, the flattened earth was further transformed into an expanse of uneven craters. However, this was only the beginning. Judging by the size of the tribulation, it was as if it wanted to transform the ancestral grounds of the Kong clan into a vast sea. Sure enough, after half a day, the ancestral grounds of the Kong clan vanished once and for all. What replaced it was a gigantic lake that was almost as large as a sea. They're finished, right? The members of the Kong clan were already seething with rage. Just as they were about to unleash this rage. Crack! There was the rumble of thunder as another tribulation formed overhead. Are you people done yet? This time, it was bewitching Maiden Ro. She had also recultivated to the ascending origin tier. She soared into the sky to face her tribulation. Very well. After half a day, the gigantic lake truly transformed into a sea. You utterly disgusting trash, the ancestor of the Kong clan roared as he glared at Ling Han and the others. When Ling Han's 3 wives had been facing their tribulations, he had drawn the others into his spatial god tool. Meanwhile, he had dealt with the shock waves of the tribulation by himself. This was nothing for him. The ancestor of the Kong clan could barely control his rage. He was going to kill them all. No, he was going to fucking eat them alive. Chapter 2386, Lion in a Flock of Sheep. The ancestor of the Kong clan immediately charged over, with columns of angry white air shooting from his nose. His eyes were ablaze, and it was clear that he had reached the epitome of fury. This was an indescribable fury, it was a fury that made him want to eat them alive. He summoned a black sword, and viciously slashed down at Ling Han. Following this slash, the symbols on the sword also lit up one after another, causing it to be enveloped in black mist that eventually transformed into countless skulls. The sword had yet to reach its target, yet a cacophony of piercing screams had already infiltrated Ling Han's mind. This wasn't some ordinary sound, but it was instead a divine sense attack. Ling Han humphed softly, and roared, "Begone! Pa!" The countless skulls instantly shattered into pieces. Meanwhile, the screams in his mind also vanished into nothingness. The ancestor of the Kong clan became as pale as a sheet. He was already aware of Ling Han's insane power, but before witnessing it in person, he had been completely unable to imagine it. How is he so powerful? Attack him together, he commanded. He didn't try to save face, and he instead called for reinforcements. All of the ascending origin tier elites from the Kong clan instantly charged forward. They were 100 strong, and they immediately encircled Ling Han. The Empress and Huang didn't interfere. They had full confidence in Ling Han. However, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire was filled with anxiety. This was 100 or so ascending origin tier elites. Moreover, over half of them had reached or were about to reach the pinnacle of the consummate level. Regardless of how powerful Ling Han was, he was only a lone immortal palace tier elite. Could he truly rival them? "Charge," the ancestor of the Kong clan commanded. He took the lead as they all charged at Ling Han. The elites of the Kong clan all attacked in unison, instantly flooding the surroundings with blinding light and furious energy. Further drawing on the power of regulations, and the might that they unleashed was utterly terrifying to witness. Ling Han roared with laughter as he unleashed his fists of fury. Like a lion entering a flock of sheep, he actively charged into the large group of enemies. Pang, pang, pang. Just how freakish was his body art now? With each punch, a member of the Kong clan would be sent flying. They were simply no match for him. After a dozen or so punches, a dozen or so elites from the Kong clan were left with bloody and severe wounds. In fact, even their bones had been snapped and left sticking out of their skin. This was a harrowing sight. They were all rendered numb with fear. Just what kind of unfathomable battle prowess was this? Even though the ones who had been sent flying were only at the small accomplishment and great accomplishment, those at the consummate level would also stumble back in retreat when struck by Ling Han's powerful punches. The gulf between them and Ling Han was as clear as day. "Don't battle with him head-on," the ancestor of the Kong clan warned. Their opponent was far too destructive, so fighting with him head-on would only lead to injury and misfortune. The elites of the Kong clan immediately dispersed. Sure enough, they didn't dare to face Ling Han directly anymore. However, Ling Han unleashed the regulations of space, and transformed into hundreds of thousands of clones. Trying to evade his attacks wouldn't be so easy. Moreover, unleashing the power of his physique meant that he didn't need to draw on the power of regulations. Even though this would only save him a small amount of effort, it was enough for him to seize an absolute advantage. Pang, pang, pang. Wherever Ling Han passed, members of the Kong clan would be sent flying into the air. He was like a celestial maiden scattering flowers into the surroundings. Ling Han didn't show any mercy. He had briefly investigated the Kong clan these past 2 days, and they truly couldn't be classified as a peaceful and good clan. Instead, they were a typical example of a clan that had suddenly struck fortune. Relying on their large number of elites, they had harassed men and enslaved women, doing all evils that they could imagine. Thus, Ling Han didn't show any mercy at all. So be it if he killed these people. Moreover, what did it matter that the number of sheep was great? They were but food to fill the belly of the lion. In just a short moment, only 30 or so elites remained standing from the initial 100 or so. "All of you, stand back," the ancestor of the Kong clan commanded in a solemn voice. They all exchanged glances. Perhaps their ancestor was going to lower his head to this youth? Otherwise, how could he rival Ling Han by himself? However, the ancestor of the Kong clan clearly had no intention to surrender. Instead, he summoned a sword. Huang. This sword hovered out from his body, instantly unleashing a boundless green light. A paramount aura enveloped the surroundings, striking fear into everyone's heart. Wally transformed back into his original form as he dropped down from Ling Han's body. Green light shot from his eyes as he stared at the sword. Celestial tool. Ling Han exclaimed in surprise. The Kong clan had definitely discovered a gigantic treasure trove, one that even contained celestial tools. They were already wealthier than many celestial kings. In any case, it was clear that this was the first time that the ancestor of the Kong clan had summoned this sword. However, it was understandable that he had kept it a secret. After all, an ascending origin tier elite possessing a celestial tool was a clear recipe for attracting disaster. The members of the Kong clan all wore blank expressions, and it was as if they were completely unaware of what was happening. However, many of them had already fallen to their knees involuntarily. This was the might of a celestial king. This divine sword naturally wouldn't recognize the ancestor of the Kong clan as its owner. Thus, he was unable to unleash its full might. Even so, this was still a celestial tool, so how could ordinary people withstand its celestial king tier might? "Now that you've seen the Green Song divine sword, you can die without any regrets," the ancestor of the Kong clan said with a cold chuckle. He charged forward with the sword. Swoosh! A burst of sword chi swept over, slicing space apart and even shattering the regulations. The celestial king tier was equal in status to regulations. Thus, even though the celestial tool couldn't unleash its full might, its destructive power was still far beyond anything that an ascending origin tier elite could rival. Ling Han dashed aside to dodge this attack. The sword chi being powerful was one matter. However, it was only being wielded by the ancestor of the Kong clan, someone at the consummate level of the ascending origin tier. "You can pay off your debts with this sword," Wally said. After sweeping his green gaze over the sword, a satisfied expression spread across his face. If he wanted to evolve, he would need to consume source power from the Genesis world. Thus, he was extremely drawn to things like the divine demon sword. Ling Han chuckled, and said, "All right, then go and get it yourself. I'm a support-style war soldier. Fighting isn't my strong suit," Wally replied in a serious voice. He didn't catch the teasing tone in Ling Han's voice at all. "You're still dreaming of fighting against a celestial tool," the ancestor of the Kong clan said with a sneer. He slashed down with the Green Song divine sword again and again, unleashing torrents of petrifying sword intent. The entire space was torn into shreds. As a result, Ling Han was no longer able to draw on the surrounding power of regulations. They had all been obliterated by the divine sword. Glory to the ancestor. Upon seeing Ling Han being forced to dodge and flee, the members of the Kong clan were all filled with vigor and excitement. They shouted in delirium, and they felt as if they could finally breathe out their pent-up anger. "You actually dared to challenge the grand might of the Kong clan? You've truly grown tired of living. Cripple his cultivation and hang him before the city gates. Let him die a miserable and torturous death. No, no, no. His battle prowess is terrifying, so it's best that we kill him as soon as possible. We can't give him any chance to turn the tables." Upon hearing the mention of hanging someone at the city gates, the expression of the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire instantly turned dark. His mind naturally wandered back to the time when he had suffered this wretched fate. He gritted his teeth in anger. The ancestor of the Kong clan was filled with fighting spirit as he roared again and again. He swung the divine sword quicker and quicker, and it was clear that he wanted to kill Ling Han as quickly as possible. This young cultivator was far too terrifying. If he allowed him to develop any more, perhaps even a divine sword wouldn't be able to suppress him. "Brat, where has your arrogance disappeared?" the ancestor of the Kong clan said with a sneer. Even the 100 or so ascending origin tier elites of the Kong clan hadn't been able to suppress Ling Han, and they had instead been either killed or severely wounded by him. Now that the tables had turned, he naturally couldn't help but taunt and ridicule Ling Han. Ling Han grinned, and said, "Old man, be careful of extreme joy begetting sorrow. You can only shoot your mouth off now," the ancestor of the Kong clan scoffed. Ling Han shook his head, saying, "Initially, I still wanted to satisfy your thirst for vainglory. However, since you're itching for a beating, fine, I'll satisfy you." Whoosh! Another burst of sword chi swept over. This was the paramount regulation itself, and it could sever all matter in the world. However, Ling Han was unafraid as he charged toward it. It was as if he were going to face the might of the divine sword head-on. The ancestor of the Kong clan was both astonished and delighted. He hadn't imagined that Ling Han would actually be so foolish. However, he naturally wasn't against this. He chuckled in his mind. This brat has truly lost his mind. Just because he's freakish, he thinks he can even rival the might of a divine sword? Pooh! However, the scene that followed caused his eyes to pop from their sockets. Chapter 2387, Trap. A burst of razor-sharp sword light also exploded from Ling Han's body, blocking the attack of the Green Song divine sword. He was completely unscathed. How could the ancestor of the Kong clan not be astounded? That was a divine sword. It was a sword that could slice through anything. Now, however, it had actually failed to kill Ling Han. How was this possible? Was this brat so freakish that he could even rival celestial kings? Ling Han charged over with divine demon sword in hand. It was none other than the divine demon sword that had blocked the sword chi of the Green Song divine sword. Otherwise, even with a physique as freakish as his, there was no way that Ling Han would dare to face the attack of a celestial tool head-on. That would be no different from suicide. The ancestor of the Kong clan refused to accept this, and he continued to swing the Green Song divine sword again and again. He attacked Ling Han in wild fury. Pung! 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 Ling Han brandished his divine demon sword to parry these attacks, blocking the bursts of deadly sword chi. Even though the divine demon sword wasn't a celestial tool yet, its material had already reached the level of divine metal. In any case, the Green Song divine sword couldn't unleash the true might of celestial kings, so there was actually little difference in might between the two swords. "Why, you also own a celestial tool?" the ancestor of the Kong clan stammered in disbelief. He was truly flustered at this moment. The Green Song divine sword was his ultimate trump card, yet Ling Han was actually able to rival it? How could he not be flustered? This was a celestial tool. Something that even celestial kings didn't necessarily possess. How could such a measly immortal palace tier elite obtain one? If he knew that Ling Han not only possessed a celestial tool, but that the divine demon sword even had the potential to become a Heavenly Venerate tool, perhaps he would pass out in fright. In fact, Ling Han already possessed a Heavenly Venerate tool. It was just that this Heavenly Venerate tool was severely wounded at this moment, meaning that he couldn't use it for a very long time. Ling Han charged over, brimming with might as he slashed down with his divine demon sword. Clang, clang, clang. His sword violently clashed with the Green Song divine sword. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely be transfixed with shock. This was because two non-celestial king-tier cultivators were actually wielding a celestial tool each. Many celestial kings would be utterly embarrassed and humiliated by this sight. Pang! After blocking 7 strikes, the ancestor of the Kong clan was finally unable to endure anymore. He started to vomit blood. He hurriedly retrieved some alchemical pills to ingest, and his aura started to recover in no time. In fact, it became even stronger than before. It was clear that these alchemical pills did more than just heal him. Beyond that, they could even elevate his battle prowess. However, could a person's battle prowess increase for no reason at all, especially at the ascending origin tier, where even advancing a slight amount was unfathomably difficult? Ling Han was now certain that the Kong clan had definitely uncovered the treasure storage of some grand alchemist. Otherwise, how could they possess so many alchemical pills? Moreover, these were all extremely high-level alchemical pills. In any case, under Ling Han's relentless attacks, it wasn't long before the ancestor of the Kong clan started to show signs of struggle again. This time, he couldn't ingest any more alchemical pills. It wasn't that he had run out of them, but rather that the effects of these alchemical pills were far too potent. They could not only heal someone, but they could even unleash someone's potential. However, it was also because of this that one couldn't ingest too many of these pills. Otherwise, they would die from an overdose. However, Ling Han was far too powerful, so the ancestor of the Kong clan could only block a few strikes before suffering severe wounds again. He felt like he was about to die. "Stop! Stop!" he shouted as he hurriedly shot back in retreat. He tried to distance himself from Ling Han, shouting, "Young man, there's no unresolvable animosity between us, so why don't we stop here? I'm willing to compensate your friend." After uttering these words, he couldn't help but feel humiliated and vexed. Their ancestral grounds had been flattened, and their elites had been wounded and killed. Yet, he actually had to apologize to the culprit behind all of this? How could he not feel vexed and angry? However, what else could he do? If he continued to fight, it was certain that he would end up dead. "All right," Ling Han said with a nod. "At that time, you snatched a treasure map from my underling. You can return that map now. Of course, you need to return it with all the treasures that you obtained as well." The ancestor of the Kong clan wore a livid expression. This treasure map was far too important. Even after several billion years, and even though he had already obtained so many treasures, he had only managed to clear out half of the treasure storage. Moreover, the most valuable treasures still remained inside. It wasn't that he didn't want to retrieve these treasures, but rather that he couldn't. He needed a profound amount of time to undo the seals in the treasure storage. Thus, how could he hand this treasure map over? It was the foundation for the Kong clan's rise. The ancestor of the Kong clan smiled, and said, "To be honest with you, I've already cleared out the entire treasure storage. As for the treasure map, I naturally burned it a long time ago." Ling Han shook his head, and said, "Old man, are you trying to trick a 3-year-old with these words? If you don't hand the treasure map over, you won't live to see another day. Old geezer." The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire also stepped forward. Since Ling Han had gained an upper hand, he was naturally unafraid to speak as well. "There's genuinely no treasure map to hand over," the ancestor of the Kong clan said in a sincere voice. "Then I'll retrieve it by myself," Ling Han said. He charged forward with vigor, slashing down with his divine demon sword. The ancestor of the Kong clan blocked a few strikes, yet he became increasingly unable to resist. After a while, Ling Han sent him sprawling with a punch before taking him captive. "Search his mind," the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire said. He bitterly hated the Kong clan, especially the ancestor of the Kong clan. If it weren't for this person, he would have definitely advanced to the ascending origin tier already. "No," the ancestor of the Kong clan hurriedly shouted. He was filled with fear, and he continued, I've already formed a seal in my mind. If someone tries to search it, it will immediately explode. You won't be able to find any secret. He was clearly afraid of death. After all, searching his mind was equivalent to killing him. Ling Han naturally wouldn't trust him so easily. He placed a hand on his head, and sent a wisp of his divine sense inside. It wasn't long before he discovered that the ancestor of the Kong clan was indeed telling the truth. His mind was protected by seals that would self-destruct upon contact. Don't even dream about trying to interrogate me, either. Under the effects of these seals, it's impossible for me to reveal any information regarding the treasure map. Once I speak, my mind will crumble into pieces, the ancestor of the Kong clan said. Ling Han frowned upon hearing this. He hadn't expected the ancestor of the Kong clan to be so ruthless to himself. However, I can take you to that treasure chamber, the ancestor of the Kong clan said. With a quick turn, the ancestor of the Kong clan surprisingly made a concession. That treasure chamber was extremely dangerous. After several billion years, he had only managed to undo half of the restrictions there. Meanwhile, the remaining restrictions were even more terrifying. Trying to undo them would take a profound amount of time. At the very least, he was extremely familiar with this treasure chamber. As long as they entered together, he was confident that he could trick Ling Han and the others to their death. This was a trap. This was his key to transforming defeat into victory. Ling clan gazed at the ancestor of the Kong clan. He was naturally aware of what this person was planning. However, he was unsure of just how dangerous this treasure chamber really was. However, would he falter in the face of danger? Ling Han smiled, and said, "Fine. Then I'll be troubling you." Ling Han, the Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire, hurriedly exclaimed in warning. The attitude of this person had changed far too quickly. He was definitely scheming something sinister. "If you're too scared to go, then there'll be no treasures for you," Ling Han said with a chuckle. "Me? Too scared?" The Heavenly Emperor of Thunder and Fire had a quick temper, so he immediately straightened his body, and announced that he was going to go. However, he was no fool either. Since even the ancestor of the Kong clan could retrieve treasures from there, someone as powerful as Ling Han would naturally be fine as long as he was careful. Even so, they naturally couldn't be careless when entering such a dangerous place. Ling Han and the others made some preparations first before following the lead of the ancestor of the Kong clan to the treasure chamber. Only after setting off did the ancestor of the Kong clan reveal that the treasure chamber was located far away in the Seven Majestic Heaven. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.